Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, once again from the flight deck here with Captain Nabs, and welcome aboard once again. We are going to be taking off today in our American Airlines A320 that you can see here, painted in the beautiful modern American Airlines colors. Nothing says fashionable like gray, and apparently all the airlines want it now. I know it's a throwback to the days when they had polished, they actually had like polished aluminum fuselages, and it was quite a thing to behold. Like a lot of effort required on the part of a company to keep a polished airplane clean and good looking, but I think it spoke to something that American was trying to accomplish back in the day, and that, you know, they were trying to be an airline that gave you the impression that they were certainly putting a lot of effort into their everyday. So anyways, yeah, welcome back everybody to the stream. It's been about a week, so it hasn't been too long. I know I haven't done an ATC stream in the longest time, and I know a lot of you guys are disappointed about that. I am too. At the end of the day, the last 2 weeks have been absolutely just crazy with work. I basically had almost one day off in the last 2 weeks, so it's been just madness trying to get. Just trying to get these streams in and trying to just get through some other things as well. But fortunately, this 2 weeks of work, that 2 weeks of straight work, has got it paying off now. With basically I'm off for the next week, which is why we should hopefully see at least one ATC stream in this coming week, and we might even do the long haul stream during the week this week. Because the other problem, of course, with my schedule, being that it changes from week to week, is that this week or this month is the last month I have Saturdays off. Next month I am working every single Saturday, so Saturday morning unfortunately is not going to be a thing anymore. I know I'm disappointed too, because I know a bunch of you guys are always free on Saturday mornings. Squibbly, good morning. I see you're there, and I know this is going to be a disappointment to you because you're only generally free on weekends. Unfortunately, weekends in May are going to be pretty much almost an impossibility. There's probably about one Sunday I might be able to do it, but yeah, so we'll find the time, but unfortunately it's going to change a little bit. But we'll talk about that more once we get going. Today we got a bit of a long flight, so for those of you that didn't read the title to the stream down there, we got a bit of a long flight today here in our pilot's life career. Today's flight is from DFW all the way up to JFK. We're heading for New York City. It's not too long of a flight. What does simbrief say here today? Simbrief told me 2 hours and 58 minutes in the air. It's a bit of a long flight, which is why I want to get it going. We got tons of stuff to talk about today. It's been a good week for flight simmers, but yeah, we'll talk about that once we get going here, because it's a pretty long flight. It's a 3-hour flight. I'd like to get this stream done, you know, before the entire day is over. So let's go ahead and get the stream underway, and we'll chat more once we get underway. Of course, the next stream after this will be the biggest stream I think we're going to do in this entire series, and that is JFK all the way to LAX. So that is that's a good like 4.5, 5 hour flight. That's a long flight in the 320. So we're going to have to work hard to try and find a way to squeeze that in, and I might have to do that without you just because it's a long way. While I'm here, I'm just going to remember to select this aircraft here. Normally I like to pick real ones. Today I'm kind of, with this American Airlines, I'm stretching it a little bit because they don't actually own any Neos. So they do own a lot of Airbus 320s, but they don't own any Neos. So I'm kind of stretching it by using the 320, but I think it's a reasonable compromise because you can't get a non-Neo 320 in this sim. So anywho, yeah. Other than that, we'll also talk about version 2 of Simbit World, the pilot's life, because that is coming out soon. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and hop in and get this whole show on the road here. For once, I pressed the right button the first time. Let's get set up. Let's start setting up.
Okay.
There he goes. All right, and while he does that, we're going to do a couple other things here as well. One thing, of course, I forgot to run, and I always forget to run it, is my self-loading cargo. So FSU IPC and self-loading cargo. There we go. All right, so American Airlines. You can see I haven't really touched this since last week. I've been so busy, I've barely flown. I've done a couple of flights, but nothing with the 320 since last week. Nothing with even a pilot's life since last week. I've had a little bit of fun since last week, but alright, so we got all that set up. Departure time 13:45. That's the plan, is to be airborne by 13:45, and even then that turns it into a long for some reason.
I'm out for the walk around.
Thank you. There it goes. All right. All them ready for boarding.
We're ready to get going now, so as soon as you're ready, you can open the doors and start letting the passengers on board. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and start just getting this turned up here, and I just find these are so dim
No
to
problem.
start. And especially, it seems like kind of a dim day out here too. Here in DFW, kind of a gray, dreary day. Hopefully when we get above the clouds, it'll look a little nicer. I almost feel like I need the dome light today. It's just so dim in here. All right, I will pay attention to you, Squibbly. We will not turn on those fuel pumps until we have fueled the aircraft. All right, so now the aircraft is started up. Let's do a couple things here. Actually, before we do anything else, let's get into the FMS and let's just get that weight and balance loading at least. That aligns super quick. I don't know, it's just the, no, it's just the attitude and heading. All right, so let's initialize this flight. And actually, I don't think I even connected yet. But we are American 2844. There we go. All right, so we got that in there. And then we're going to go back to the AOC menu for a second, and we're going to go ahead and do a... Do we have any ATIS? And I know you posted in the chat already there in the Discord, and I appreciate that. I was just going to have a quick look here at VATSPI. Oh, for crying out loud. And just see if there's anybody hanging out in DFW today, but no. Just you and me, and that's fine. We'll make it work one way or another. Where's the Discord chat here? So, current real life, 180 at 20 gusting 29, 10 miles broken, 2700, 22 degrees, 2986. Sometimes 17 right and 18 left. So I'm at gate 16. I'm in the Charlie terminal. It's Charlie 16. So we're definitely going to be departing 17 right. All right. So we've got that weather. So I'm not even going to bother with that. What I'm going to do is send for the weight balance and then start it loading. There it is. And then the other thing we have to do as well is start the fuel loading. And again, if I can just pull up my simbrief over here really quick, I could even do it here if I do this from simbrief. And then I can go to, here's the flight plan, OFP, and I can literally scroll down. Alright, and takeoff fuel. So our block fuel is looking for about 9,500 kilograms, which is what I think it defaults to here. How perfect is that? Real, please. Thank you. And it's going to take about 7 or 8 minutes to fuel that. In the meantime, we can go ahead and get set up here. So, let's see here. Oh, you posted it there in the chat as well. Yeah, and here I saw you had posted it in the Discord, so I went and looked over there, and there you are. You posted it right there. All right, so we're going to get set up in the FMS here. And I'm going to pull out my trusty tablet. And you know what I realized, of course, is I don't have myself turned on. So there we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome aboard. We are going to use the trusty tablet here because I just find it such a nice way to program. And it may not be working yet. Hold on, where's my MCDU server? You may have seen that a second ago. Yeah, no, it was waiting too long. So let's just go into the settings page here. Click. There we go. There we go. Successfully connected to the MCDU server. And now we can go ahead and set this up. Alright, so if we hit the init button, it takes us to the init page right there, KDFW to JFK. Both bespoke airports, handcrafted airports in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I didn't really pick this particularly with this in mind. It's just a flight that came up, but I did like it because I knew that I had both these airports available with a relatively detailed version. American Airlines 2844 is us today. And again, we're going to go to the flight plan. Now, Squibbly, you put a route out there. I changed to the route you had, and we'll talk about that once we get going. Again, I like simbrief a lot, and you can either use it as a realistic tool, or you can just simply you know, use it as a quick and dirty way to get a flight plan. But I think you know me, I am definitely one for realism. All right, so flight plan, DFW. So because we're heading eastbound, we're going to depart from the east side of the field, so 17 right. On the basket departure, no, on the ZAC-3 departure basket transition, that's right. I may have done this once or twice in my life. ZAC-3, not very much lately, but ZAC-3 basket, that's what I'm looking for. There it is. Insert. Spirit, J-Girl, Zerlus, ZAC, basket, you know, it's all there. Alright, and then from there, how do we get the rest of the way here? So we've got our flight plan there. Shrink it up so you guys can actually see what's going on the MCDU as well. Click do that. Get rid of this side pane. It's a little bit bigger. There we go. From there, Little Rock. And that's the one thing I've noticed about this routing, is that it's very out of the way.
No issues on the walk around.
Thank you. J131 to Pocket City. And yes, I know the name of all these VORs. Then we're looking for Rosewood. Then direct Klein. And then we do Airways from there. Q29. Q29. Just thinking about it. To Jamestown. Descriptions database. There we go. Jamestown. Insert that. One of the things I really don't like about this Airbus FMC is when you put in an airway or something else, it goes all the way back to the start of your flight plan. If you got a long flight plan, what a pain. Oh, and there's a second airway. I should have stayed on that screen. Whoopsie. Jet 70. Thinking about it. LVZ, I should know what that is, but I don't. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I don't know it. Oh no. One I don't know. Now I'm curious. LVZ. Looks better. Alright, and then we just need an arrival. Lendy 7 is JFK. It's estimating 4 left, so I'm going to put ILS to 4 left. Lendy 7. And, yeah. Should all be in there now, so okay, JFK 04 left. It looks like it's all in there. General still, Party Stillwater. It's all there. Alright, perfect. So, moving on to the second init page. Init, page 2. Just going to pop in the ZFW and the CG the easy way. We're going to be looking for about 9.7 on the fuel. And there we go. And then we just need performance numbers. Now, let's just see if I can find it here. So I had found this website here. This one is called FS Tools, and it's a performance calculator website. Probably just drop this right in there, and then it's there. So if you type in all of your information here, runway 17 right for departure. Even if I do a wet runway.
The security and safety check are all done. Are we good to start boarding?
Go for it. Yes.
Okay.
Alright. Bring that back. And again, I'm just going to have a quick look at what you posted here. So the temperature, put it in the air, need to get going here. Pack's loaded before in it. B. Alright, so let's just check this out here. 22 degrees. Our takeoff weight today is going to be, so what was our ZFW? Our ZFW 52.1, takeoff weight's looking like 61,600. And if we do a flaps 1 configuration with packs on, here we go, numbers. So I'm going to type these in, 125, 135, 138. This is a flaps 1 takeoff, and it says flex of 43. There we go. Now I got a takeoff performance calculator that actually works. It's actually a simple little calculator, but works. Seems to work just fine. Generates some numbers. It seems very reasonable anyways. I don't know. I can't judge them. I'm not an expert in 320, but they seem pretty reasonable. If you don't load the packs and fuel before, and it be your auto weight, general weights be off. Oh, interesting. So it goes. I wonder if I can clear this out. Curious. Nope. Once it's in there, can't do anything about it. Alright, so let's just do it the real quick way here. MCDU menu. So now we're looking at ZFW of 54.7. You're right, 54.7, and it keeps on going up. Ha! Neat. I did not know that. Thank you for pointing that out. So, but you know what? Often in the real world, we always revise our numbers just before we leave. We get the actual numbers. We get our estimates initially in the flight plan, then we get our actuals just once the boarding is complete. So, once the boarding is complete, I will revise those numbers. Remind me. Don't let me forget. All right, but otherwise, we're going to go through this. Are we done fueling? We got 9,500 kilos on board. We do, so fueling is done. We can go ahead and put all the fuel pumps on. Otherwise, everything is good on the overhead panel. Test the fire, test if I want to. There's something about the way these fire handles glow, though, that just doesn't look particularly realistic. I don't know why. Most of the other lights look really good, but for some reason those ones don't come across very well. Something, yeah. I don't know what to suggest to fix it. What's the altimeter here? 2988. 2988. Alright, and I do believe 10,000 without looking at it. I believe is the altitude on our SIDS. We're going to set that. I'll check it in a second. I will. Just get to it. 22.8, we got guard, I don't want VFR code, I want 000. Alright. Brakes are set, I think all the rest of that is good. Alright. Are you ready for the takeoff briefing?
Ready.
Alright, and I hope that's not too quiet for you guys. If you can't hear it, just say so. I'll turn it up a little bit. Yeah, so let's pull it up here on the screen here so you guys can follow along. So in the event of any aftermath or the problem during taxi, we'll stop. Otherwise, this will be a left seat takeoff malfunction part of the V1 of 125. I'll call stop or go. If the call is stop, I'll close the thrust levers, apply maximum brake, disconnect the auto throttle, apply maximum burst to stop on the runway. I'll set the park brake, and then call for any required memory items and QRH checklists. Let's just do it this way. The engine failure procedure at DFW, I believe, is just straight ahead. And yeah, otherwise, let's see here, taxi out. So we're at the Charlie terminal, 17 right departure, so it's going to be northbound on Kilo. Scooply, I don't know where you're parked, but we're here at Charlie 16, which is perfect, it's right there. We're going to go probably go out to spot 24, and then northbound on Kilo Echo Golf route, the keg route, to get to 17 right. No hotspots, runway crossings along that route today. The SID today is the ZAC 3 departure. Oops, those are SIDs. Stars. The star today. No, SIDs. Yeah, SIDs. SIDs. Why
Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, on behalf of myself, your
There it
captain,
is.
the first officer, and cabin crew, I'd like to take this time to welcome you aboard our flight. We're just wrapping up some paperwork up front here and waiting to receive final numbers from the ground crew, then we'll be on our way. Flight attendants will be coming through the cabin shortly with a very important safety briefing. We do ask that you give them your full undivided attention as they review the safety operations of this Airbus aircraft. We do appreciate your business having aboard this flight.
Alright, so this is on plate 60-3 Yankee and effective on the 21st of May of 2020. It's an RNAV SID. We do have RNAV arm for the departure. Radars required for RNAV 1. TDR GPS required. Freeze by turbines only. And 5 and 6 don't apply to us.
Checked.
Alright, so for 17 right specifically, let's just go ahead and look in the box here. Make sure it's all there. So 17 right, climb heading 176 to intercept 155 to Spira. Then on track 107 to cross J-Girl at or above 5,000. Then on track 084 to Quartz. Then on track 057 to Zurlu. Alright, so Quartz and then Zurlu is in there. Top altitude is 10,000. It is set. We don't have any ATC today, so we don't need a clearance. And the routing again, Spirit J-Girl is a max 240 knots at J-Girl, as well as the 5,000 feet or above. It's usually never a problem to make that one. Quartz, then off to Zurlu, and Swidiazak Basket. Swidiazak Basket. That's the Zach 3 departure out of...
very good morning, Delta 222, gate
DFW,
Alpha
the weather is...
pushing back north face to the north, we're looking for 17 right. Dallas traffic.
The weather is... yeah, it seems cloudy, but definitely good enough for an immediate return. No big issue. A bit of a gusty south wind, but it's almost right down the runway. The terrain around DFW, I believe 3600 is the MSA to the south. And operational, kind of reload, think about it. Easy does it now. 3600 all sectors. And then operational, let's see, no MELs on the aircraft. We are going to get that 737 soon, and we will have MELs. We will defer stuff, we will break stuff. It's going to be great. NOTAMs. Let's just have a quick look at the NOTAM file, see if there's anything that affects our departure today. For 17 right. Just having a quick scan through here. 17 right, status light system unserviceable. That's okay, we can deal with that. Declared distance 13,000. It's more than good enough. Let's see here. Takeoff. Departure, level transition, approaches. Anything about SIDS? Nope, nothing. Alright, good. No TAMs affecting our flight today, so I think we're good. Any questions? Any questions?
No questions.
Before start checklist.
Cockpit prep.
Completed.
Completed. Gear pins and covers.
Removed.
Signs.
On. On auto.
Are you sure about that? Adheres.
Nav.
Fuel quantity.
9,500 kilograms. (9,500 kilograms). 9,500 kilograms. Set and checked.
Takeoff data.
Set.
Barrow ref.
2988 set.
2988 set. Down to the line.
It's a little cheat in FS2 crew. Set and checked. It's always a little cheat. It'll get you basically everything. Alright, so let's see here. Self-loading cargo says we're done. Let's just check that this is properly loaded through the MCU. And here's one thing that I just wish. I wish there was like an instant load button if things are not going quickly for you or you want to get going in a hurry. You want the weight in there. 57.3, 24.7. So 57.3, 24.7. Let's go ahead to indent page 2. 57.3, 24.7. There it is. Block 9.7.
Hi guys, here's the load sheet for you.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a safe flight.
All right, so that's in there. Now we got the correct weights, and we're ready to get going.
Hey guys, are we clear to close?
Yes.
Thanks. Let me know if you need anything.
Cockpit to ground. Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead, flight tech.
We will be ready in a minute.
Roger.
All right, there
Hi,
goes
Captain.
the
All passengers are on board and doors have been cleared. Okay, thank you.
Below the line.
Windows and doors.
Closed.
Closed. Beacon.
On.
Thrust levers.
Flight attendants, arm doors, and cross-check.
Idle.
Parking brake.
Set.
Before start checklist complete.
Let's just do this before I forget. We are ready for pushback and engine start.
Roger. Release the parking brakes, please.
Brakes are released.
Pushing back.
All right, hopefully this works today. The last few times I've done this, the rudder control has not worked properly. Oh,
You are clear behind, and you can start your engines at your discretion.
Start engine 2.
Check.
Starting engine 2.
Check.
Vector into road.
Hello everyone. Thank you for your attention. It's time to get you ready for takeoff. We know you have lots of choices, so thanks for choosing American. We're happy to be your airline.
Wow.
Now you'll just follow
I gotta say, we've got going
along
fast
on
here.
our web.
It's probably the fastest I've ever got going on one of these flights. That was 30 minutes from starting the stream to getting going here. I just looked at the clock.
Welcome aboard. Before we depart, there are some important safety instructions.
Stop, pushback.
Dallas traffic, Delta 222, ready to go here.
Pushback
So
complete.
taxi
Set
apron
parking brakes,
here,
please.
Kilo,
Brakes are
and
set.
hold short 1718.
Roger. Okay, the tow bar is disconnected
Kilo,
and the
Echo
equipment is
Golf.
clear.
Yeah,
We will see you on the left side with the pin.
You're cleared to disconnect and go to hand signals.
Thanks. Have a good flight. See you later.
I see you, Scribbly. Alright, we almost got... Sorry. Yeah, it's got this NTIS, but I turned it off. Turn it off again in a second. Alright, we got a good start. Start engine 1. Starting engine 1. Starting engine 1.
Check.
Oh, I got some anti-ice on there. It's really warm here, isn't it? It's 22 degrees. We don't need anti-ice. It's a quiet day in DFW, but hopefully it'll get busier as we go, and hopefully by the time we get to New York, we'll have some ATC. New York's very much hit or miss on VATSIM, but we'll still hope. We'll hold out hope. Yeah, need to get going. I mean, it is a long flight today. That DFW to that JFK to LAX, that's going to be a long one. I don't know how we're going to squeeze that one in. We'll probably have to do, probably won't be able to do that one together at the end of the day. There we go.
In the event of an evacuation, escape and lighting will appear. Follow the lights until you reach your exit. Leave all carry-ons behind. Just head quickly and safely to the nearest
After start checklist.
Anti-ice.
Off.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Pitch trim.
I forget where that was. On the fuel page? No, maybe not. I'm struggling here. Set and checked.
Rudder trim.
0.
After start checklist complete.
Flight control check.
Ready. Full up. Full down. Neutral.
Yeah,
Full
right.
left. Full right. Neutral.
Rudder.
Full left. Full right. Neutral.
Clear left side. Left side clear.
Clear right side.
DFW traffic, good morning. American 2844 is at Charlie, taxi Kilo Echo Golf for runway 17 right. You can see he's got the taxi light on already because it's still somewhat dark here. ATC here, right? Just top of my bed.
Fort Worth traffic, Delta 222, holding short 17 right. We're lining up for departure 17 right now that we've got the pitch trim, Delta 222.
Trim. The nice thing is this airplane's pretty forgiving, and if you just have it at neutral. That's certainly one thing I have found. I have not been setting it very precisely. I've just been setting it to 0 every single time, and it's not that far off from where you usually need to be, and I find it generally fairly forgiving. But it's something, you know, it just speaks to professionalism, just trying to do it correctly as much as possible. Really wish this was uphill though. This whole airport is built on a huge slope, and it just goes constantly uphill here as we're going up towards 17 right. 17 right's way at the top, and like I said before, it's like 50 feet, I think, above the other, close up the airport diagram, but it's like 50 feet up from the other end of the runway at least. And the taxiways match it too. The taxiways are just, there's so much slope here. It's such a big airport. That's part of the thing, I guess, too. DFW is such a huge airport in terms of the land it occupies that it's hard not to have some kind of slope from one end to the other. 563 at that end, 567 at that end. That's not right. Yep. Because the taxiways feel like they slope a lot. This one here, 576 to 5.
Rolling
this one's got a
17
huge
right.
upslope. I know that one. Yeah, and I was going to show you guys last time the bridges. Let's see if I can pull it up here really quickly while we're going. DFW bridges. Showing me a whole bunch of bridges from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. really am not having much luck in finding what I'm looking for here. Just can't find what I'm looking for. Not too bad. Before takeoff checklist.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Checked. Flight instruments.
Checked.
Forward traffic Delta 222, passing 2,000 feet airborne, last call. Have a good day.
Config 1 plus F.
Config 1 plus F. V1, VR, V2, flex temp.
VR 125, V1 125, VR 135, V2 138. Flexing 43 degrees.
V1, 1, 2, 5, VR,
Clear on the
1,
left.
3, 5, V2, 1, 3,
Right.
8, flex temp, 4, 3, degrees, ATC.
Set.
ECAM memo.
Takeoff, no blue.
Down to the line.
Below the line.
Approach path clear of traffic. Takeoff runway.
17 right confirmed.
Cabin crew.
Advised.
TCAS.
TARA.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
PAX.
On.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
Ready?
Ready.
Make sure my tracker is tracking right. Oop. This is the one here. Yes. Alright, here we go. Takeoff.
Check. Thrust set.
Flight attendants, please prepare for takeoff.
100 knots.
Check. DFW traffic, 2844, rolling 17.
V1. Rotate. Positive climb.
Gear up.
Gear up.
Spira. Flaps 0.
Speed checked. Flap 0.
Autopilot 1 on. Autopilot on.
Checked.
There it is. After takeoff climb checklist.
Landing gear.
Up.
Flaps.
Retracted.
PAX.
On.
Down to the line.
Alright, and there we go. We're all set. And we can just go ahead and climb to our cruising altitude because we got no other traffic. No ATC. Hopefully we'll get some. It's a long flight too, that's the other thing too. But the longer the flight, the more likely you are at some point during this day to encounter some ATC. Alright, so there goes, there's the J-Girl restriction, 5,000, 240 knots. We're holding 240 knots. We're well above 5,000. We've met that restriction, no problem. static air temperature still plus 14 up here. Hopefully we'll break out the top of this before we ever get up there. Which is a gray, dreary day, but I didn't see too many build-ups or anything on the radar picture, and that's what I wanted to talk about as well when it comes to simbrief. I was looking at the radar picture. I had actually picked a different route because of some of the weather along the route, but in the interest of camaraderie, and because you're probably already half done planning it, I went with the route you had. But that's the beautiful thing about simbrief is you can be a dispatcher. You're not, you don't have to be, but you can easily be a dispatcher. Alright, almost at 10,000. There goes the J-Girl at 240 knots. Once we get above 10,000, we should accelerate here. Goes. I don't even know where it went to. It went to 290 for the climb. And that's it. We're underway. Like 3, season 7 of a pilot's life career here. And yeah. So far, that was actually, I have to say, that was remarkably fast to get out of DFW. I was basically ready to taxi at 30 30 minutes after the stream started, which I think is a new record because I always spend a few minutes at the start of the stream chatting. You know what? And it's an interesting kind of little take I have on it because I treat it a little bit like a flight, like as a crew member, as a captain especially. The first thing, your first thing you have to do when you get to the airport is build a bond with your crew. So there's always a need for some kind of chat, some kind of briefing. Now sometimes it can be quite brief, especially if people are late coming in from other flights maybe. You know, just because it's your first flight of the day doesn't mean it's everybody's first flight of the day. Usually the pilots are kind of, because they fall under the same rules, they usually have similar schedules, but oftentimes the cabin crew, because they fall under a different set of rules, usually a different collective agreement, they often have different schedules that conform to their rules. So, nice, I see you out there, 5,200 feet ahead, but 5,200 feet above. But yeah, that's basically your first job, is to try and build some kind of rapport with your crew, break down the walls and kind of try to build that one crew concept. And it's not always easy to do. People come in with their own issues, their own problems. They may be tired because they've already been working for who knows how many legs. So it's not always an easy thing to do. It's definitely not easy, but yeah, that's what I try to simulate here a little bit. Perhaps not necessarily intentionally. I almost didn't realize I was doing it, but basically it is maybe inadvertently I've been doing it, trying to just sort of build a little bit of a rapport with you guys on the channel here, just to sort of bring you into my crew and get you on board with what the plan is for the day. So most of my flights have always started with that little chat. Now I'm trying to just because. And I'm not trying to get away from it, just because it is such a long flight today, relatively speaking, relative to the ones we've done for the last several legs. I wanted to try and get it done in a reasonable period of time, and we have a lot of time in cruise to kind of chat about various things. So I'm catching up to you slowly but surely. I don't know if I'm less heavily loaded than you or what the deal is, but let's just take a quick look here. Yeah, so if anybody wants to chat about anything particular now, we're above 10,000 feet. The sterile flight deck has ended. Kind of sip my coffee. But if you guys don't have anything to talk about, then I got a few things that I definitely want to just mention. Things that interest me, because it's been a good couple of weeks, I guess, for the flight sim community. I think we're all on pins and needles about the PMDG 737, but something that just I read this morning, and it completely kind of caught me off guard, left field, but if you go to the FlyTampa website right now, you can go ahead and buy FlyTampa Boston Logan Airport, which was coffee sipping a lot in the sterile cockpit. The sterile cockpit ended at 10,000 feet. Almost every airline is the same policy. This slipping can be distracting. I know, what kind of a jerk eats and drinks on stream, right? Hey, that's part of the piloting experience. Below the line.
Barrel wrap.
Standard set.
Standard set. After takeoff, climb checklist complete.
That to me is a huge part of the flying experience, and perhaps almost too much so sometimes. And I've come to the realization recently that I may drink a bit too much coffee myself, especially when I'm working nights and I'm using it as a I really love coffee. I enjoy coffee. I enjoy drinking coffee, but I also use it very much as an alertness tool in the aviation business. And when you're working nights, especially all night long, without having time to even sleep, even for a brief period of time, like you need, I just find I need lots of coffee to keep going, to the point where it stops. I don't think it stops having an impact on me, but it's what I found this last week was that I'm becoming incredibly challenged to judge how tired I am, because coffee is artificially suppressing the physical manifestations of tiredness. But at the same time, I'm definitely still tired. There's definitely no doubt about it that I am still tired, and mentally I'm quite worn down. But coffee is doing an excellent job of suppressing my my body's physical signs that I'm tired, and especially when you finish and you want to go to sleep, and it's like I don't feel inclined to sleep because I've had so much coffee through the overnight period that my blood is probably about 50% coffee, it's 50% caffeine. Yeah, it's really makes it a challenge to try and manage your alertness and try and manage even sleep. If you don't think you're tired, then it's hard to kind of get into bed and convince yourself that you're tired. So the airline industry can be grueling sometimes in terms of schedules, in terms of shifting schedules. You know, you're working mornings one week and afternoons the next. I'm a passenger in your current flight with the new rule change. I'm going to be wearing a mask, thank you. You're not going to be wearing a mask, thank you. You know what? You don't have to if you don't want to in America, but in Canada you still do. As of right now, anyways. A federal transport minister in Canada decided that yes, mask wearing is still going to continue on airplanes for the time being. To me, it seems like a wise idea still, and that's. But again, a lot of people, it comes down to what you're personally okay with. I'm okay with not wearing masks in the flight deck here, where you're interacting with a very small number of people for an extended period of time, anyways. But in environments where you're interfacing with a large number of kind of unknown people, like the back of an airplane, even going to the mall or going to the grocery store, like I still find myself very inclined to wear a mask. I don't know anybody else. I don't know their health status. I don't want to necessarily know their health status, but and I hate to assume the worst about people, but just to protect myself and my family, I feel like it's a small thing that I can do to definitely protect other people's health. Ditto for an airplane. An airplane is a very small place where you're trapped with the same people for X number of hours, with very little ability to get up, move around. Yes, the air circulates through the airplane, but it's definitely not a perfect system. So, I've read a lot of information about COVID where your odds of getting it are based not just on exposure of limited duration, but it's kind of the amount you're exposed to and the duration you're exposed to it. So, you pass somebody on the street who has it, you're probably very unlikely to get it because you've got very minimal exposure to it. But if you're certainly there with someone for an extended period of time in the same area, breathing the same air, then you're probably much more likely to get exposed. So, yeah, for me personally, I would still be wearing a mask in the back of an airplane, no doubt. What? So Squibbly says if we go into settings, we go to aircraft configuration, pack signs, no portable devices. Still says no smoking. Probably have to wait till the next time I reload that, right? That's okay. I don't know. But that's neat. I didn't know that you could do that. There's all sorts of interesting stuff in here. I downloaded the most recent version about a week ago. I don't know if I didn't check it this week, but last week I checked it, and it was pretty. I updated last week. They're doing Nexus interviews again. Oh, I did not know that. Now we're in 2022. Oh, no portable devices. Oh, okay. Okay, I gotcha. So it says no portable devices down here. I guess this placard and the sign is not changed. That's fine. see, and I'm not 100% sure I still want to travel yet, ironically, for someone who travels for a job. But that's the thing, is I travel for my job. I don't see... I mean, don't get me wrong, there's part of me that wants to, but I just don't know if I still feel 100% confident in it yet. But that's me. I think I'm a little bit more on the cautious side of life, a little bit more on the nervous side of life, which I think makes for a good pilot. Someone who operates a little bit more on the cautious side of life, I think that makes for a good airline pilot. Maybe that's what makes me a good airline pilot, or maybe it's the airline pilot in me that has sort of percolated the rest of my life and looks upon risk as something to be managed. What can I do to manage risk in my life? What can I do to reduce risk? Because that's something that we're all trained is risk management. What can you do to mitigate this risk today that you're going to be exposed to something? You know, what can you do to mitigate the risk of having to divert? Well, we take a little bit of extra fuel if the weather's bad. What can you do to mitigate the risk of all sorts of stuff, like having an engine failure? Well, we brief on exactly what we're going to do on takeoff because it's the most critical time. So there's lots of things we do to manage risk, and I think I've really kind of taken that out of aviation and into just my life in general and say, what can I do to reduce risk in general? You know, and it's about what has an impact too, and that's probably the hardest thing. Human beings are very bad at judging risk and assessing risk in general. It's not an easy thing to do. To really quantify the unquantifiable. Well, what are the odds that this is going to happen today, and what is the likelihood, and how am I going to deal with it? And what are the odds I'm going to go out and get exposed to COVID if I go to the mall today? It's possible. I'd say it's a very real possibility. If you go to a place that's got hundreds of people in it, chances are at least a couple of them have had it. If not, one or two of them probably have it right now. Maybe don't even know it. So there's a good risk there. So me wearing a mask, does that really have any negative impacts on my life? Well, other than the fact that people can't see me smiling at them, that's about the only negative impact. I'd say that is a very small sacrifice to make to greatly mitigate that risk. Seatbelts. You look at people wearing seatbelts in automobiles. What are the odds you're going to get in a car accident today if you go driving today? Pretty small on any one particular daily basis. You know, very, very small, but it's not an impossible chance. There's always a possibility something could go wrong. Either you could run across encounter a drunk driver, someone who maybe has a heart attack at the wheel. You know, you can have a mechanical failure in your own vehicle. Even the best maintained vehicles will probably have a mechanical failure at some point unexpectedly. Any particular day, very small, but wearing your seatbelt mitigates the risk of getting injured in any one particular flight. So that's the way I gotta look at it. It's such a small thing to wear a mask versus the benefits that you gain from it. So it's such a minor little thing that I have no problem with wearing one in any kind of public setting, and I probably won't for a long time. But that's just me. Again, the same thing like with traveling. Like yes, I enjoy traveling. Do I feel that the risk is worth the benefit at this point? I'm not sure that I do yet. And especially because, and it's as much because the countries have made it so awkward and the rules are always changing. You know, you go and try and book some travel. This is my mindset anyways. You go and try and book some travel for, 3 months from now. Who knows what the rules are going to be 3 months from now? The last 2 years have taught us that we have no idea what's going to happen in the next week, let alone in a month from now. The future is a great unknown. I mean, do I want to live in fear of it? I absolutely don't. That's not what I'm trying to say, but I'm just, in terms of certainly the practicality of trying to get tests and cross the border and everything else, for me, it's not quite there yet. I think for me, I think domestic travel is okay. I don't think domestic travel is too much of an issue right now, and I'd be definitely willing to travel within Canada, but just crossing the border right now, still a little awkward. The rules are still changing all the time. Yeah. Rick disagrees with your assessment. Anyways, yeah, and that's the thing is we don't have good solid testing numbers anymore, so we really don't know how prevalent, anything we do is just a guess in society how prevalent it is, but the testing numbers are non-existent nowadays. Now we're relying on the wastewater data as about the best we're going to get, which is a bit unfortunate that we just don't have that testing regime anymore. But I understand why. Like the numbers were simply impractical to test, and you can't manage what you can't measure. I 100% agree with that. But the measurement tools we were using measure each individual case. It was so laborious to test, to take a swab from each person and send it off to the lab and get tested. It was so laborious to do that for every single person that might possibly be exposed. I understand kind of why the governments went the way they did. It's unfortunate because we just don't have the data anymore. So we've got to use other metrics. Unfortunately, we have to use deaths as a potential, and hospitalizations as a metric. I think wastewater is a really kind of useful metric because you can measure a population at large without having to actually get in there and measure the population. It's a bit of a census kind of situation, but you can definitely get a reasonable measurement without necessarily having to individually count people, because that's the trouble with the census. It's very laborious. So I think the wastewater makes a better survey than a census, I should say. Anywho. Just a quick check here and just see what this says here. It says we're going to arrive at 16:30, so we got 2.5 hours to go from now before we get to JFK. So, like I said, the one thing that really did excite me, and I just read it this morning, I didn't even notice it yesterday. I don't know what time the trailer dropped yesterday, but yesterday FlyTampa dropped a trailer for their Boston scenery, and let's see if we can't find it here. Because honestly, I haven't even seen it. I honestly have not even seen it. So I'd be curious to pull it up and watch it with you guys really quickly, because honestly, that is one of the airports I have been waiting for quite some time. Alright, so let's see if I can bring this over here. I found it on FS Elite, and just have a quick little look, see if it'll play for me. Animated passengers in the terminal. That's not going to penalize my frame rate at all. That guy dancing. Look at the detail level of the cars even. Just driving around. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I stayed in that hotel. Fans are spinning. I like that. That's a good one. I guess we can drive into the JetBlue hangar. I guess I give the respect. Just watching the whole thing there, but anyways, yeah, I want it. I want it. I know. As other people have said in the last few weeks, just take my money, please. That one to me is a no-brainer. Boston is such a eCam display on the tower screen. Yeah, I'm sure it's probably not. I'm sure it's probably just a frozen screenshot texture. But yeah, I gotta say, first of all, wow, that looks impressive. The amount of detail, the detail level on the individual objects. So just the cars in the parking lot, like they looked really good. They had like really nice textures to them. You could even see like the reflection of light on them, so they weren't just flat textures. There was a nice reflection on them. The taxiway lighting and the way the sign kind of glowed in a couple of locations, so it wasn't just a uniform, just glowing thing, but it actually it looked like there was a light bulb mounted inside the sign, which is really kind of neat. I don't know if you noticed the wigwags too. They had the digital wigwag look to them, it's a really weird thing that they did with the wigwags. So those yellow amber lights at the side of the runway entrances that flash back and forth. You know, way back in the day, of course, they were incandescent lights that switched on, and then the other one switched on, so they switched on and off and on and off and on and off, and so you had like this kind of glow effect where it would turn on. It would take about a second for it to reach full brightness, and then it would take a second for it to go off again, and then the other one would come on and kind of alternating with it. And what they've recently done is they've recently switched to LEDs for most of these lights for longevity and power saving and all those other things. But the funny thing is that when they first designed them, they said it looked really unnatural because the LEDs just came on instantly, and then they were off instantly, and it just came on, and it there was no sort of on and off. It was just on, off, and it was looked very unnatural. So what they ended up doing was they ended up creating this kind of pseudo flash to it, where there's actually two light levels, so it goes on to dim, bright, dim, off, dim, bright, dim, off, and it does it on both sides. I don't know if you noticed that with the wigwags in the video, but they actually they captured that where it's dim, it's bright, it's dim, it's off. So that was, you know, to me, having seen this and you know, kind of looked at these things in real life, these are the little details that really kind of make me say FlyTampa sits up, pays attention to what's going on. They released it early, so I wonder if that's kind of maybe haven't completed. If I don't have that tower view in Toronto, yeah. I think that Toronto got a little bit rushed out because of the marketing and the competition. So I think Toronto got a little bit rushed out, and I think that's understandable a little bit, that they want to make sure that they capitalized on the market. They knew they had it. They knew that people wanted it. They knew people wanted it badly. But at the same time, like, if people didn't know when it was going to come out, then they may not wait for it, and then they may be happy with the other scenery they've got. So I think FlyTampa probably made a pretty smart overall marketing commercial decision there to release a product that wasn't polished to the highest level, but was definitely workable. And the thing is, like, when you compare it to what we had to go with the default scenery, anything was better than that default scenery. So, you know, I was happy to kind of overlook some of the shortcomings, some of the outdated, incomplete items around the airport. So things like you know, the missing, the torn down Air Canada hangar, the missing new GA Sky Service ramp at the south end, those kind of things that are missing, the newest things that are kind of missing. I'm kind of willing to overlook those in the overall Toronto, because overall it's so well done and it's such an improvement over what we had before. But yeah, things like that. I mean, to me, like, tower views, they're always a little bit gimmicky, just because you're never really going to see that as a pilot. Even the animation of people in the terminal, I mean, that's something you're more likely to see as a pilot. I have mixed emotions about the animated people. I mean, they look really good. But, of course, the second you start doing anything like that, you have to ask yourself, how much does this take away from my performance when I fly into this airport now? Boston was the other one, up with Toronto, the FlyTampa scenery that just brought my P3D computer to its knees. Was not a good experience. Just turn this down. I turned it up a little bit just to hear that video. Often down into very low teens, if not even single frames per second, just for the amount of detail. It was a great looking airport, but almost too much detail. So it makes me wonder again how much are those animations that look really good. And don't get me wrong, I like them and I want to like them. It just makes me wonder how much are they penalizing performance to have them. They're probably probably relatively simplistic. I don't know what that guy that was dancing in the middle of the terminal was really doing. The guy that was dancing in the Delta terminal, but nevertheless, like, even a small amount of animation inside, when viewed through the windows, can add a huge amount of feeling that there's something going on in there. You don't have to have a detailed animation, you don't have to have a detailed terminal, but you just want to know that there's something in there. You want to have, because it's glass. You see inside the terminal, you want to but you can't see like perfectly in there. You just want to know that there's something going on there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Most people in the terminal are, half the people are walking around, half the people are sitting, so they barely even move. So you just sort of populate some chairs with people, and immediately you get a sense of life. And then you get some people walking around, and it just creates and perfects that sense of life. So, anyways, regardless, that's something I'm definitely going to want to add to my simulator sooner than later. And Boston is always a great airport because not only is it a busy kind of hub airport where you can do all sorts of flying, you can fly everything from, what do they fly there? Cessna 414s, I think, Cape Air, like small little GA aircraft, and there is an FBO there, so you can fly your small GA aircraft there, right up to the heaviest airliners, lots of regional flying, so it's a great hub. And of course on VATSIM it always has great ATC, always fantastic ATC on the Boston Virtual. So I imagine those guys were waiting for that, and I imagine that this weekend that Boston is going to be absolutely insane now. And I'm curious to see here. You know what's online right now? New York Center. You know it's not online right now, Boston. But I figured like Boston is probably going to be one of those airports that like it's going to get very busy this weekend because lots of people are going to see that scenery. They're going to want to fly Boston for a little while. So Boston's going to get a huge little boom for the next little while for people trying to fly that scenery. And the other nice thing about Boston too is there's so many airports. There's so many other great airports within a very short range of that. You got the whole Northeast U.S., Toronto, Montreal, Halifax. You got a whole ton of airports within a very reasonable hour flight range of that airport. That it's a great airport to fly in and out of. So definitely, yeah, FlyTampa, take my money. What can I say? Like, it's one of those places I know I'm going to fly. I know I'm going to enjoy their scenery. FlyTampa has once again demonstrated, I think, what this sim is capable of, and some of the stuff that this sim is capable of. It blows you away. All right. Speaking of things that this sim is capable of, for those of you that didn't watch in my entirety of my last Twitch stream, I spent a long time talking about PMDG's interview they did. Robert Randazzo did an interview. I don't know if any of you guys saw this. I hope you guys saw this. But about a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago, Robert Randazzo did a 90-minute interview with JT on Sky Blue Radio. It was really interesting to listen to, first of all. So if you haven't listened to it, please go and listen to it. My suggestion is to throw it on in the car is what I actually did. I listened to it like over like 3 drives to work. That's about 30 minutes a piece. I listened to it over and over again. Not over and over, but I listened to it like, you know, in various short spurts. But I listened to it in the car. I mean, it's on YouTube. It's just an audio interview, so you can just hear it and listen to it while you're doing, you know, while you're driving or something. But really interesting to listen to Robert Randazzo talk about the 737, talk about PMDG in general and his history and how he got into it, and all sorts of amazing kind of insights into what's going on at PMDG. So it was really great for you to listen to. I covered a lot of the topics last week, so I'm not going to kind of beat that dead horse again. But I actually, when I was thinking about it, there was a couple of things that I missed talking about, and one of them was global flight ops, and Randazzo briefly touched on it, not quite so briefly. Every answer of his was not brief. I gotta say this, like, he's a great interviewee, because you ask him a question and he usually goes into a long, I hate to say rambling answer, but a long explanation about his questions. So yeah, I enjoyed his answers, because I think you know, as much as, you know, you'd enjoy sometimes a simple yes or no answer, the fact that he was giving such long, detailed answers really gave an insight into what PMDG was doing. So he was asked about what is the status of global flight operations. You know, this is something that PMDG announced at FlightSim Expo, I want to say it was like 3 years ago now, and it still has not seen the light of day in terms of even like an open beta or anything like that. It's possible. Yeah, as Squibbly says, I suppose if PMDG is as close as they claim, this may be the last time we see you in Fly-by-Wire. It's not going to be the last time. I'll say this. I do like this airplane. I do like the 320. It's a fun airplane to fly. So it won't, even if the PMDG releases 737, it won't be the last time you see me in this airplane. I'll probably revisit it periodically, just to sort of contrast it to the Boeing and get a little different sense. But yeah, obviously when that thing releases, I will be all over that like a fat kid on Smarties. It's probably not politically correct to say that anymore, but the Phoenix will be out by the time I want to fly it again. And Travis says expected to drop on the 26th. See, and here's the thing, Squirrely, don't say goodbye to fly-by-wire yet, because fly-by-wire, the thing that they have going for them is, of course, that they don't charge for their products. So, you know, a lot of, and I hate to, I don't want to demean anyone or anything, but a lot of serious simmers will probably move to the Phoenix because if the product is more complete, if the failure simulation is, and the system simulation is more deep, a lot of us will probably move on to the Phoenix. Honestly, yes, I probably will move on to the Phoenix. It's not that I haven't enjoyed the fly-by-wire. Maybe I will come back to it. And people like Airbus. Airbus is simple. I mean, if you want to go flying and you want to just get it quick and dirty and done quick, Airbus is where it's at. It's simple. The airplane is simple. It gets you going. You can get going. You know, pretty much all you have to do is program the FMC. It's set the top altitude. Boom. You're pretty much ready to go. Like it's such a simple airplane to start. And I contrasted this in real life one day. I contrasted the Embraer to the 737. And in the Embraer, I think I worked it out, and from like the before start to takeoff, I think we had to operate 9 switches. In the 737, it was something like 37. It was a ridiculous Ibanes player 200, welcome aboard. Yeah, so first of all, yeah, like the difference in what you need to know to get operate an Airbus versus a 737, it is, the 737 is so much more complicated, and yeah, the checklist and the flows after, from before start through the start and into takeoff, it was something like 37 items you had to do, 37 switches you had to move to get between pre-start and takeoff in the 737, whereas in the Embraer it was like 9. And similar in the Airbus, like everything is kind of very automated. So yeah, it's very easy to get going. But I will say this, Squibbly, you will get such a sense of satisfaction when you do figure out the 737. The first time you take it, out of the hangar, you're barely even gonna get going. It's such a long, laborious process. And do I even have my checklists here? I do have them here. I wrote up, and I can even post this for you if you want later on. Just find it here. So I have a folder for every airplane. So I have a folder for every airplane that I shove my checklists. So the checklist is actually quite simple in 737. It's really not that big a deal. It's relatively simple. But what I also have shoved in here is I made this. So this this is the 737 normal procedures guide that I basically made. I went through the AFM, and it's 3 pages, and look at how, you know, like look at how many items are on this page. 33 pages of everything you have to go through to make sure that the flight deck is set up for flight, to go through the after takeoff. So this is just the electrical power up right here. This is pre-flight. Sorry, this is the preliminary pre-flight, the safety check, and this is the actual pre-flight here, and it just goes on and on and on. I'll be honest, like when I first learned that thing, it took me a long time. It took me a long time to get going the first few times. It would take me an hour or more to get the airplane fired up and going, following along step by step. As you get better at it, you get a little faster. The other thing you can also depend on, if you're worried about it too, is you can depend on FS2 crew. So I have the FS2 crew tutorials from the P3D 737. FS2 crew will help you get going in a big way. So if you're you bought a laminator just for your checklists. I should publish that. I have to find it. I know it's around here somewhere. Hold on a second. Let me find one more thing here for you guys. Just give me 1 second. Right back. Alright, so one more thing I'll show you guys. You bought a laminator? Travis, I'll probably have you beat. Because this right here is my 737 QRH. I made this. I literally printed out the entire thing. Every page of the QRH. Cut every sheet in half. Had it bound. And then I even added little numbered tabs for the various sections. I made this from scratch. I made this from PMDG's 737. It's got the PMDG logo at the top. Yeah, this is the entire QRH. If something fails when I'm operating the 737, I just pull this out, flip to whatever chapter, and you know, just run the emergency, run the abnormality, just like a 737 crew would. When I first saw the depth that existed in the 737, I knew I had to have this. Flipping through a PDF just doesn't do it. No one in their right mind as a pilot flips through a PDF. You go to this where you can easily go and look at the page. The other thing too is like having it on a second screen over here at the PDF. It's kind of nice, but like it's just so awkward sometimes. How long did this take to make? Let's see. First thing I had to do was find a printer that printed double side. And then it was so awkward to do this. It was honestly so awkward to do this because in order to get this to work properly, I had to print out a PDF with alternating pages so that it would print front and back with the correct pages behind each other. So I'd have to go through it and I'd have to print page 1342 and then 5, 7, 8, 6, 9, 11, 12, 10. And I had to do that through the whole QRH. And printed as a whole bunch of separate PDFs that I could then print front and back. That alone probably took, just even generating enough of the PDFs to do this, it took me probably about an hour to do that. And then I have a paper cutter, so like that made it a lot easier to cut all these in half once I had printed them and organized them. And then I got this bound at Staples. So all told, this probably took me about 3 hours of work. Cost me, I think, about $15 or $18 to bind it, I think, but totally worth it to have like a nice binding that I can flip it open very easily to the page I want. Yeah, that's pilot level OCD, I know, but that's what I'm going for though. What I'm simming, like that is like I want that level of realism. I want, you know, especially and with the 737, like anything can fail in that airplane. Anything that you name in this checklist, they've got it in there. It is possible for it to fail. I had like 2 or 3 things fail just through service-based failures over the years, and I had to rip this thing out and run the checklist and deal with it. So anything can fail and will fail, and that's why like I like to have this. So I have it on the bookshelf over there. If I actually go and fly the 737, I'm going to have it right here on the desk next to me. I've thought about actually having like building like a little tiny checklist pouch, if you will, like a little checklist storage shelf, and hang it off the edge of my desk just to have the QRH right here. I can reach in, grab it, pull it out. The checklist right there, I can reach in, pull it out. So yeah, yes, Old Red has not been laid to rest. He's right here. He's still here. If I don't feel like putting on my headset, I can still grab this thing, but I do have to say that this Track Clip Pro, it is very nice. It's lighter. It feels a little bit more accurate, but it's not sunny out there today, so there's nothing distracting nothing distracting my track IR today. But it is a lot lighter. It's a lot less cumbersome than having that hat on. I was always on the lookout for like a good baseball cap that I thought was good. That would be something like to be something relevant to a flight simulator. I was on the point of considering getting an actual Captain Nab's hat for a while and putting my logo on a cap and actually having that on. Still haven't necessarily dismissed that as a possibility. I may still try and do that one day. I may set up some merch for myself if nobody else. But yeah. With PMDG's products, you can go ahead and make something like this, and it's worth it because you can fail stuff randomly yourself, but you can use those service-based failures, and it's good to have this handy for when the service-based failure happens. You can pull this out really quickly. You're not searching for the document for the PDF, trying to open it on another screen. I actually have now one of these for each of the airplanes. I have one for the 37, one for the 47, one for the 777. I made all of them. And the 777 and the 47, I actually made them in color. This one's all black and white at the time. I found a color printer that could do double-sided printing at a hotel we stayed at. And I made good use of that printer over the course of a couple of stays, a handful of pages each stay. Captain Nev's coffee mug. See, I need that. I should have that, totally. I have to set up a merch shop now. You guys are convincing me. Maybe I'll put old red on a coffee mug or something. That'll be my merch. But yeah, and likewise with the Phoenix 320, I would like to probably have like a good QRH for that as well when that comes out. Anything where it's got the good systems depth and you can fail things accurately and have to react to them realistically, then I want a proper QRH. I want to be able to flip through the QRH and work the problem and resolve the problem one way or another, or determine that we need to divert if we need to. That's what I want to do. So, but yeah, back to the original topic, which was, yeah, the 737 is not easy to learn, but I guarantee you will get such an immense sense of satisfaction when you do learn it. I was also intimidated by it at first. I watched a few tutorial videos. I'm like, oh my god, I'm never going to learn this thing. It is incredibly complicated, watching people try to operate it. But again, give yourself time in the beginning. It's going to take you a while to get used to it, but you will get used to it. The thing about most airlines is that they don't want to make it hard for crews to learn their airplanes. So most of the airlines will set up an SOP that is a flow. That flows. You don't have to necessarily remember items individually because you'll just simply run the flow. So like in the Airbus, what you would do is you would start probably on this side here, and you just literally go from top to bottom through these panels. Just make sure everything is set up correctly. So the aiders are on nav, flight controls, everything's pushed in. The evac is it's guarded. Like the emergency gen switch is guarded. These are all on, guarded. Everything's on. Like you just simply go through it like one line at a time. And as you get to each switch, if you forget, then you go to the manual. The manual will tell you what you're supposed to be looking for at each switch. But over time, you'll remember it. And the key is that is that with a lot of these things, especially the initial flows, they're long, but you'll find that they flow through the flight deck. If I look at the 737 one here. I don't have a 737 in front of me, but it literally does the same thing. It starts at the top left corner, and it just goes down that side, then it goes to the next column, and it just goes down. So flight control switches, guards closed, flight spoiler switches, guards closed, the adapter switch on. Like I'm visualizing the 737, those are the first three switches right there in the top left corner of the 737. So, you know, it's intimidating to look at this wall of text and say, how am I ever supposed to learn that? But if you run through it a few times, you'd be like, yeah, no, it flows. A lot of these pre-flight things, they flow in a certain order. To make it easy on the pilots. We don't want the pilot to have to remember things random, like all over the place. It's going to take them forever to learn that. So we do a flow. We just go through one column, we go to the next column, we go to the next column. And then we go, usually the next thing we'll do is we'll start at the side panel, we'll go across the glare shield, make sure that's all set up, we'll go across the main panel, and then down the center pedestal. And one at a time, you'll go through all these things, and you'll verify that everything's the correct position. You'll learn that part probably quicker than you think. A handful of times looking through it, you may need to still pull this out from time to time, and you may even need to pull out the actual. This is based right on the 737 manual. So I literally took the 737 manual. What I did was I took the descriptions out. If you go into the 737 manual, you'll find all these items are in there, but with descriptions of what you're looking for. So this is just the summary, if you will, of all the items to be covered. But I say give it a chance. And to hear Randazzo talking about the 737, it's not that far. First of all, it's not that far away. I tend to agree with you, Travis, when you said that it's probably going to launch shortly after the next update. I would not be surprised. I would imagine that PMDG is probably going to want to do something like that, where very shortly after an update drops, they're going to want to launch the aircraft because it gives them the most time to have an airplane that works until the next update drops. And nobody's going to blame PMDG when Asobo breaks something in the sim and their airplane breaks. But you want to give people the maximum time. You don't want to drop your airplane 2 days before the next update, the next sim update occurs, because then of course something's going to break and people are going to fly your plane for 2 days and they'll be like, it doesn't work anymore now, blah blah blah. And yeah, and the guys at PMDG, they want to see the airplane flying. They want to see it out there in the world. I don't think we'll be doing the approach briefing for probably about an hour, at least an hour anyways. We're not going to get there till 16:30, so in an hour we'll start thinking about doing the approach brief. So yeah, if you want to head out for an hour and come back in an hour, I'm sure we'll be back by then. We won't have done the approach brief by then. But what was I going to say? Yeah, I think you're right. I think, Travis, I think you're right. I think very shortly after that next update. Type approach briefing in chat. All right, I will try to do that. You'll see charts come up on the window if you still have this going in the corner. You'll see all the charts come up on the window when it's approach time. So we got way too long to get to New York right now. I don't think we've even. Where are we now? I haven't been paying attention, but yeah, we crossed Little Rock. There's Argus. Sorry, not Argus. That's Walnut Ridge, and yeah, we're somewhere over Missouri now, I believe. That's the mighty Mississippi down there. You can see it already catching the sun over there. So we'll be flying over the Mississippi in about another 20 minutes here. But yeah, it's going to be a while. What a VATSIM pilot. That's it. I'm in cruise. Headset down. Walk away for 3 hours. Come back. Do the landing. Never mind if ATC comes online in the meantime. No, I think you're right, Travis. Because it feels like, and again, like to hear Randazzo talking in that interview and to see it, you see it in his posts as well. Like, they want this airplane to launch so badly. They've been working on it for 3 years now. This is the longest development process PMDG has ever had. They want this airplane to be released. They want it in people's hands. They want people flying it and enjoying it. So they're not holding it back. They're not holding it back lightly. They won't release it lightly either. They want to make sure that it's going to be in people's hands. It's going to be, people are going to be able to use it for a period of time, a reasonable period of time, without too much. You are still on Unicom. Yeah, they want to make sure it's going to be in people's hands for a reasonable amount of time without breaking. So yeah, that makes the most sense to me. So if that's coming up in like a week, yeah, I would think that that release date's going to be pretty soon. Yeah. Well, exactly. And I like a lot of simmers are very reasonable, and they look at the sim and they say, oh, on the update. The thing is, Asobo has a track record of breaking things in the sim. So as soon as an update drops, everyone fires up their airplane and it doesn't work. And they don't usually blame the developer, they blame Asobo. Like, well, you guys screwed my airplane. Thanks a lot. But then they do look to the developer. Okay, well, how long is it going to take you to get a fix? Come on, come on, come on. I need a fix. I need a fix. So I think you're right. I think that's a very reasonable assumption that very shortly after the next update drops, they're going to release. Because it feels like they're on the cusp. It feels like they're very happy with the product. They just want to make sure it's not going to break in the next update, and that's it. So I don't know if they'll pull a FlyTampa and be like, okay, it's going to release tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to be that quick, but it'll definitely be like they'll make an announcement. It'll only be like a handful of days, 3 or 4 or 5 days before it releases, and then it'll be in all of our dirty little hands. We get to play with it. I cannot wait. It's just such a good-looking airplane. I watched some of the videos already. I watched some of the guys streaming it. It looks so good. It looks so beautiful in this sim. The outside, the lighting effects just look absolutely fantastic. The inside, it looks so weather-beaten. Everything about it just looks so good. I'm just going to remove myself for a minute here. You can finally do your cross-country flights again. Yeah. Oh, I know. I know. We are all thinking the same thing. Even this airplane looks really good from the outside. Just the way everything in the sim comes together. The lighting is just fantastic. The lighting, I think, really made this sim, the lighting and the scenery together. Like the kind of effects you can get with lighting in this sim are just phenomenal. You get the sun behind you, you get a little contrail going on. Spot reflections, the shadows, like just the nice gentle shadows there. You can see where the sun ends, the sunshine ends and the shadow begins, and it's so well done. Lighting is, I think, what really kind of made this set. The scenery really kind of, the scenery like forms like a fantastic base with the lighting, and then you just do different times of day. You do sunrise and sunup, sunset, and you see the kind of lighting effects they get. You fly through the clouds, it gets darker. Just the lighting in this sim is just all around phenomenal. The way everything reflects off that metal there on the leading edge. The only thing about this airplane is it's much too clean. I have never seen an airplane look this clean in real life. Once they get going, no airline ever spends money washing their airplanes. The only time they get washed is when they go through a puddle or when they fly through a rainstorm. So these things get dirty, they get stained. What a nice thing to see. I'm a bit disappointed they don't have WestJet livery for the 7 release. I'm sure it'll be out within a week. You'll have a WestJet livery. I don't doubt that that's one that people are going to be all over because it's the only. Well, it's not the only. It's the only Canadian operator of the 600, really. I mean, I guess there's Sunwing as well, but Transat, but the major operator, anyways. But apparently the Max is coming too, and not as part of that initial release, but at some point there will be a Max release as well, so you'll be able to fly an authentic Air Canada 737 as well. I flew into Dallas the other day, did my call out 10 miles, 5 miles out, and finally on short, I see lights heading straight towards me, so they announced the short final, and I'm just thinking, idiot. I'm just thinking VATSIM. No calls, no nothing, just there we go. It just looks so, like you can reach out and touch that airplane. It really does. It looks so good and solid, and the textures are so well done. Yeah, so nice. And then the scenery below it too, it looks so good. The haziness too that plays into the sim in the distance. You can tell this is made by some guys who actually went up flying and they kind of looked and they said, how can I make this look more like how can I make the sim look more like what I'm seeing outside? Like these guys, a lot of them obviously spend a lot of time actually flying airplanes, perceiving what the world looks like as you're up there flying around in it and trying to recreate that in a simulator. Because a lot of the effects that you notice in the sim, you wouldn't really notice if you haven't been flying too much. You have to spend a whole lot of time out there in the skies really and pushing around, and it all just comes across so well. It all combines, like the lighting, the weather, the clouds are overall pretty good. They're not always great, but they're pretty good overall. But then combine that with some really good scenery, and it's easy to take a picture and say, I don't know what's real and what's a simulator anymore. You can compare the two, and the way you can know the simulator airplanes usually is they're too clean. Like I said, real world, these airplanes, especially like behind the engines where the exhaust is kind of playing up and down the fuselage, boy, they get dirty in a hurry. The Dash 8s used to always have like a big stripe of exhaust because the exhaust would come out and it would always hit the fuselage in a certain place because of the rotation of the propellers. That's a good question. Nuclear Jet 748, wondering if they will limit the first credit, the 990 credit to the initial release, or if we can wait till potentially to the Max. That's a good question. That's a question for PMDG. I mean, the one thing they said is they definitely wanted to honor it at least as they had originally foreseen it, which was, you know, as the NG series. I don't know if the Max was part of their original plan or not, or if that was something that they sort of said, yeah, we have the capability of doing it, we will do it, or if that was part of the original plan. I don't know. I don't know if the Max will be considered part of that. After having listened to that interview, they definitely said like they wanted to honor this. They did not want to renege on it, even though it's been 3 years, and it's been 3 years of basically almost zero revenue. This was the comment that Randazzo made, was that the announcement of Microsoft Flight Simulator just completely destroyed the market for P3D and FSX products. Just destroyed. Within days, sales had fallen by like a noticeable 20, 30, 40%, and within a couple of months, sales had fallen by like as much as 90%. Like sales just became almost non-existent of anything that was labeled P3D and FSX. after Microsoft Flight Simulator was announced. So a lot of developers kind of got caught a little bit with their pants down. Didn't see it coming, didn't know it was coming, just were working, you know, just assumed that P3D was still the future, version 5 was the future, and this just working through their P3D products, and just didn't see it coming, and so all of a sudden had to pivot very quickly, shift gears to new development, and that's where the NGXu came from. Was the NGXu was basically, well, what can we wrap up and package into a P3D product and finish it relatively quickly so that we can move on to the real NG3, which will be in the next simulator. So the NGXu was sort of a byproduct of that sudden announcement, and how quickly just the formula changed, the game changed completely. I don't know if that Max is going to be credited. I don't know. He definitely said like they wanted to make sure that for the NG3 that people got a full $99 credit. It's going to be in your account at PMDG whenever you buy something on PMDG that qualifies. The discount's going to be applied there automatically. So whether that includes the Max, I don't know. But I will just make that other argument as well. PMDG went almost 3 years without revenue of any kind of substance. They did release the DC6, and that probably helped get them through. But at the end of the day, it's a long time they went without any real substantial revenue, and they kept on developing. They said that they were actually on the verge of hiring some guys when MSFS got announced. They were actually on the verge of expanding their team, hiring a couple of new guys to continue with development, to expand their development team and be able to push products through their pipeline faster and begin developing more products. And then they had to put that completely on hold, and they haven't really got back to it yet because their revenue went to almost zero. They had to kind of cut corners as a company and say, what can we really spend money on? Where can we save money? So we've all suffered a little bit because of the Microsoft Flight Simulator, because PMDG decided not to hire these guys and not to increase their product production pipeline. I think their hope was that they wanted to increase the number of airplanes they release and the pace of releases, but they couldn't justify hiring people when they didn't know what the future was going to bring, and it was probably a wise move on their part, because boy, this 737 really turned into a very long development process. But I would say that even if they ask you to spend money on the 37 Max, I think it's probably going to be worth your while. At the end of the day, we all know PMDG charges a lot for their products. They do. But what you get is by far one of the most in-depth simulations you'll ever get in a computer. So I think it's worthwhile, and I think as a company, as a developer, we should support them. So I will definitely take advantage of that $99 credit, but I will not hesitate to definitely spend a little bit of money at PMDG as well. So whatever that $99 credit gets me, I'm going to assume it's going to get me somewhere between 1.5 and 2 airplanes from their 737 series. I'm going to very seriously contemplate buying at least one more to just to support them as a developer, not just to get the airplane in my sim, but to support them as a developer. They're a high quality developer. I want them to continue developing airplanes. It seems like they have ambitions to sort of expand beyond their basic 737 line, their basic Boeing line, and they would like to see a few more airplanes. They sort of mused about, could we do a business jet? And you know, imagine what kind of business jet they could produce. You know, the kind of level of depth that they produce in their products. Imagine what a business jet would look like if it was brought to you by PMDG. So yeah, I will not look upon it as I'll definitely make the most of that $100 credit. I'll definitely operate those airplanes, but I still will probably support PMDG with at least another purchase. And even if that credit only goes to 737, the 777 is now coming. It's in its very early stages, but they are beginning to shift focus now from the 737. Some of the guys on the team have started to shift to the initial stages of working on the 777. It's not going to be anytime soon, but the 777 is the next aircraft, it seems, coming from PMDG, and it has started its very initial stages of development. So even if you get full credit for the 737, hopefully the 777 will continue to support PMDG and their pocketbook. Because the other thing too to look at is that you're not the only one with the credit. There's a lot of people. Yeah, I want the 777 too. I want that long hauling. I mean, this is going to be great for narrow body and everything, but I want that long hauling. So it's a pity the 47 won't come, but I think the way they're looking at it is they want the 47 to be the third airplane because they want to have mastered the sim as best they can by the time they start working on the 747 and really make that the ultimate model of the simulator. But yeah, to look at the other side, like there's a lot of people. There are 8,900 people that have that $99 credit for PMDG. So that's almost $900,000 of credits that PMDG is, you know, on the hook for to the community. And I don't think at any point do they regret their decision. They fully, you know, it's a gift to the community. They want to support the community, the flights and market, but that's still, nevertheless, as a company, that represents a huge liability for a company the size of PMDG. $900,000 worth of revenue that they're not going to get from the 737 because those people are all going to go and get their credit and download the aircraft for free. So, yeah, think about it that way. Like, that $99 credit, that's a lot. Regardless of what you put it against, that's still a lot of revenue that they're not going to get, because that 777, I guarantee you, is not going to be out for at least a year, maybe more. So it's going to be a long time before they really get a full revenue stream going. There we go. Get rid of that noise. Because the other thing that was that brought up again, and I started talking about this, and I got distracted by all sorts of other chatting there, but global flight operations, and what is the status of global flight operations, and why have we never seen global flight operations? And everyone keeps asking about global flight operations. And at the end of the day, what it comes down to is, again, the same thing. Microsoft Flight Simulator completely disrupted the flight simulation ecosystem. The idea behind it was, of course, that the basic idea behind it was that we all operated airplanes as part of a greater world network. So you would have to borrow an airplane, like almost like a book from the library when you wanted to fly it. But the thing was, you would get the history of that airplane. So whatever the last person had left it, the configuration the last person had left it in, the service hours on that airplane. Because the thing about service-based failures is that we can never, as individual simmers, hope to really accumulate that many hours in our airplane. I mean, the airplanes I have that have the most hours in them, you know, I track them all here in my Sim Toolkit Pro fleet here. And the airplanes I have, this is spurious little entry here, but most of these are the highest flown airplanes that I have, and I've only put about 70 hours into these airplanes, these particular airframes that I've flown the most. You know, and then I've got a whole bunch of different variations of each one, different 47s, different 37s, etc. But the ones I've flown the most, the WestJet 737, it only has 70 hours in it. Nothing much is going to fail after 70 hours. So the idea of getting service-based failures in a realistic time frame, it's never going to happen for any simmer. You're going to, you know, the sim is going to be out of date before you ever log 500 hours in the sim on a particular airframe. So the whole idea of global flight operations was that you are pooling that service with a whole bunch of other simmers. So when you borrow that airplane, you're borrowing that airplane and its whole service history, whatever number of hours is put into it, and things that have failed and been replaced and whatnot. So, you know, it's basically like taking an airplane from a real airline and operating it for one flight and then returning it to the pool and someone else operates it next time. It's a really neat concept, and it's really kind of neat that we all kind of have an impact on each other as simmers in the long run. But with Microsoft Flight Simulator, that runs into two big problems. The first is it killed the revenue, the whole revenue model, and that's one of the reasons why it's never been released. It just completely, like, as soon as they saw like the sales of P3D products falling off, they realized that there was not a whole lot of people that were flying in P3D once Microsoft Flight Simulator, especially once it released. But even before that, people were stopping spending anything in the P3D world. And I'm guessing the global flight operations, of course, was intended to always be like a subscription service, because obviously there's got to be servers in the back end that are maintaining this information about who's got what airplanes and how much they've been used and all that stuff. So it's very much a service. So it's something you're going to pay for on a monthly basis. But the second Microsoft Flight Simulator, especially once it released, nobody was going to, or not nobody, but only a very small percentage of simmers were going to stick with P3D and fly it enough to make it worth subscribing to global flight operations. So they immediately saw their business model vaporize almost overnight. That's the number one reason why we haven't seen global flight operations. As soon as Microsoft Flight Simulator got announced, it just completely destroyed everything we were expecting about flight simulation and the economics of the flight simulation world. So global flight operations just went out the window. it's not that it went out the window, it's that it went on the back burner. It's something that really want to do, and they really kind of believe in the product. Randazzo believes in the product. He thinks it's a great product, but at the end of the day, it's something that is just not viable yet. The second problem that they have, and again, Randazzo touched on this in the interview, is that there are communication problems with the outside world in Microsoft Flight Simulator. The interesting thing that he noted, I always thought that this was intentional. I thought this was a feature was intended to keep Microsoft Flight Simulator more secure by not allowing things within the sim to communicate outside very much. That was never the case. Apparently, it was actually an accident. That communication with the outside world is not possible for anything coded in C, in C++ within Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is, of course, the language that PMDG prefers to use for their aircraft. Apparently, if you program with JavaScript with the simulator, you have full access to the outside world, and you can reach out and talk to servers and gather information. But for whatever reason, C++ was blocked. It was never intended. It was just simply it just simply happened at some point accidentally through the development process, and it's something that has yet to be rectified because it's something that they have to do carefully. They can't just sort of leave it out there, you know, forever. They can't open things willy-nilly without sort of looking at the implications of what it means from a security standpoint. So it's something that they do intend to do 100%. It's not something that Microsoft is ignoring or specifically trying to block. They didn't go out of their way to block it. It was, to hear them talk about it, it was an accident. It was never intended to happen that way. But because PMDG products, when they do get released, can't communicate with global flight operations, there's no point in having global flight operations. There's no way for them to really talk outside the sim, and then the whole thing is that it's communicating with their server, providing feedback about the operation of the airplane and wear and tear and everything, hours and whatnot on the simulator, and it's also supposed to be getting information coming in terms of like ACARS messages and things like that from company and whatnot. So without that two-way communication, global flight operations really doesn't work. But the other problem, of course, is that nobody has global flight operations capable airplanes in their simulator, because 95% of people moved on from P3D to Microsoft Flight Simulator and didn't look back. If they did look back, it's very infrequent. They did not see that the business case was there to launch global flight operations, because not enough people are flying airplanes that are capable of it. I mean, really, at this point, there is no PMDG airplane in Microsoft Flight Simulator yet that is capable of communicating with it. We're about to get the first one, and it's going to probably be a lot of people that have that installed, and then they'll have that base installed. Maybe it'll be worth installing, or maybe it'll be worth launching global flight operations. But so few people are using P3D that their install base that they could have appealed to was almost zero. So there's no point in launching this product, because the other point of this product is that it's a massive multiplayer online simulation without other users, with only a small, very limited set of users in the simulator using the simulator. There's no point to releasing it. So that's part of the problem, is that they talked about is that there's no revenue, there's no real revenue stream, because there's no install base and there's no suitable aircraft in the sim that everyone's using. So it's not that it's never going to happen, it's that it's on the back burner for the time being. There's no business model for it, unfortunately. So that's kind of the status of global flight operations. Hopefully, with the launch of the 737, especially once the 4 variants come out, maybe a little bit of resource will go back into global flight operations and getting up and running. It is still up there in the background. It is sort of still in its open beta, if you will. There are still people who are testing it and whatnot on PMDG's behalf. It's still built into the PMDG Operations Center, so it's still there. It's just not viable at this point in time from an economic standpoint. Once the 3.7 releases, that could very much change. That equation probably will change. However, you also have to ask, with their limited resources, what they're going to focus on next, and I tend to think that they'll really kind of put their focus on the triple. I think that's one of the things people are really waiting for, is a high-quality long hauler. No way. Oh, look at that, Fort Worth Center. Oh, fantastic. Well, and now we're just leaving Memphis, so yeah, Memphis Center's probably going to come on right about now. Squibbly, you're so right. And this is, I swear this is my curse. It's always ATC behind you. Think about it. Think about it. There we go. See, this was the original route I had planned. So that's why it's showing a weird route, but why is it not showing me my VATSIM? There we go, flights. And airport ATC. So you can see New York Center is also online. Whether or not they're there when we get there, I'm very skeptical because they're online now. It probably needs to log off by then. But yeah. Anywho. What can you do? But yeah, that brings up something else I wanted to talk about as well, which again I thought was pretty pretty fun. If I can find it here. Yeah, I'm still looking for those DFW airport bridges, and I really just could not find a good picture of how much of a hill there was to these two things. Because nobody can take some picture from the pilot's point of view. Cannot find one single picture of what I want to find. Pardon me. Yeah, can't find it anywhere. This is... cannot find it anywhere, and I don't know why. Nobody has ever taken a picture of these bridges. Literally no one has ever taken a picture of these bridges, but they are quite substantial. The hills on these bridges are quite substantial. And I just can't find, I just want to find a picture that sort of demonstrates it, but I can't find one anywhere that really kind of demonstrates how much the airplanes have to go up the hill one side and down the hill the other side to get over these. Maybe I'm searching for the wrong thing. Maybe I'm searching for the wrong thing here. What's crazy is how old this airport is, too. I just found this picture here. No, that's Denver. The old Toronto Pearson terminal. No, that's Chicago. I thought that was DFW. Is there no picture of DFW? I thought this was... here's DFW. Wow. There was almost nothing here. There's only like 2 terminals back in the day. And there's a Concorde taxi across it. Yeah, I cannot find any picture that really does justice to show you how much of a slope there is going up and down those bridges. But really there is, and that's none of the sceneries I've ever seen for DFW have come close to representing that. But what I wanted to talk about was just how good simbrief is as a dispatching system, because that's why this was the route we picked. But you have so many tools available to you as a dispatcher here in simbrief that you can easily kind of vary this. So DFW to JFK is kind of crossed that magic 2-hour mark. Anything usually less than 2 hours, pretty much the direct route is almost always the best, unless there's something unless there's something that looks like this, that is just a ridiculous amount of weather along your route. You're probably going to pick the most direct route. With anything from an hour to 2 hours, you're going to pick the most direct route. Once you start to cross that 2-hour mark, now you're getting a flight that's long enough where you can vary 50 or 100 miles north or south of the ideal Great Circle route and not be burning a lot of extra fuel, but boy, you can definitely kind of avoid some weather by picking something. Or even if you don't need to avoid weather, you can even just look at the winds and say, where do the winds get me the best, get me there the fastest? And so this route might be a little bit longer, but based on the winds today, this is probably the more efficient route to take with these upper winds here. You can see they're just pushing us right this way. If we kind of gone this way, the winds sort of stay a little bit lighter, and then as we head up towards New York, we'd actually be turning more into the wind. So this time we kind of arced a little bit north, we kind of followed that wind contour, and probably this is actually the fastest route today from DFW to JFK. Now this, what you see here, there's not much here. It was looking a little bit more intense earlier. Last night actually when I was looking at this and looking at the radar, I was like, oh, there's a little bit of weather up there. So what I had planned was I had planned a different route. So if I go back into edit flight, but that's what I love about this, is that you can play with these things. You can be your own dispatcher. So I had planned, no, not that one. Again, I had to go in here to do this one. I had planned this one. No, not that one, but something like this one anyways, which took us well south. It was a pretty similar distance, but instead of dealing with any of this weather up here, it kept us in the clear skies to the south. However, that being said, it wasn't quite as advantageous for the winds. Once you get up towards New York, you're kind of turned into the wind, so it slows you down a little bit. But that's the beauty of simbrief, is that you can do these kind of analysis. Anything that's more than 2 or 3 hours, you can look at the winds. Which way would get me a better, you know, more optimal riding the tailwind, avoiding the headwinds. You know, if we were going westbound today from, let's just one level here from JFK to LAX, I would definitely not pick a direct route, because that puts you right into the worst of this wind here, unless you certainly vary your altitude up or down. So could you go up higher? Would that be better? Maybe going up to higher altitude would actually be better. So you'd have a little bit less of that headwind on the way down there. Or if you go down to 30,000, yeah, you still got pretty strong. That jet stream's pretty intense right there. So maybe, yeah, go 34,000 feet. You can even hit significant weather to see where these jet streams are and see where there's storms and whatever. So yeah, so for JFK to LAX, you could either do one way to the south or do one that kind of goes across to the north. Again, you can really quickly analyze these, look at the distance percentage-wise versus the Great Circle route, and then you can even generate a number of flight plans and see some different scenarios. See what gets you the best fuel burn, the best time en route, shortest time en route, so you can see what's the most economical for your airline. So you have the power to be your own dispatcher, and a really versatile dispatcher here. Using these tools that are available to you, you know, so you can see the ETOPS airports. You can kind of plan on ETOPS airports if you need to have ETOPS. But certainly putting the weather up here on this and the winds and seeing what takes me around the weather, because you know, as much as possible you'll try to avoid the weather rather than even trying to deal with this and pick your way around these thunderstorms. Just go around them altogether. If you've got a 3-hour flight and they're somewhere in the middle of your flight, don't even go close to them. Go all the way around them. It makes life a little bit easier if you don't have to divert off course on your way. Plus also you're going to stay away from these congested ATC sectors. These sectors are going to get congested by this kind of weather moving through here. So you can kind of, you can use these tools, and you can really kind of, like I said, like I've planned, like sometimes I'll plan multiple different routes, and I'll actually run the plan. I'll generate 3 or 4 or 5 different flight plans to try and see what's the best, most economical one. Now, real dispatching software would do that for you. All you would do is put in your origin and your destination, and you hit optimize, and it picks the best route and the best altitude. So it'll analyze the winds and the fuel burn and everything else like that, and it'll pick the best route and the best altitude to either maximize the tailwind or minimize the headwind to get you to your destination as quickly as possible. The dispatcher can still play with different things and see what different things do. If there's you know, reports of severe turbulence at certain altitudes, then maybe we'll go a little lower. You know, we'll avoid those segments or whatever. But yeah, the real dispatching software would do that automatically. But then the dispatcher can also put in constraints on the generation, so he can say has to fly over this fix. So if there's certain weather here that you have to avoid, you can say, hey, I want to fly over this fix. I don't want the most direct route. We have to fly over this fix. Find me the most optimal route that goes through that fix, and then you can hit recalculate, and the dispatching software will regenerate it also. It's very, you know, modern dispatching software is a fantastic tool that will let dispatchers set up a whole bunch of flights, but quickly lets them analyze a whole bunch of different options. Usually takes about 20 or 30 seconds to recalculate a flight plan. based on new parameters, based on a new restriction, has to fly through this fix. And simbrief has this. If you don't like the routes that are here, Route Finder, you can actually say avoid these airways or fixes or include this fix. So if you have a specific point you want to fly over, generate a flight plan for that. Let's say I want to do over what is it, VXV. Let's say we want to do something. Let's say we want to fly over Pocket City. So Pocket City definitely got me a route around the weather here. So hit find route. Simbrief's going to think about it for a couple of minutes. It's going to try and find you a route that sort of strings together what it knows is good routes to and from these destinations using that fix. Sometimes it works better than others, but just the fact that it has the capability of trying to generate a route like that. So here's the route it came up with. So I said I have to fly through Pocket City. So it came with the Zach 3 departure, Pocket City transition, and then it kind of took a slightly more easterly route here. So it took a little bit more of, it tried to kind of get close to that Great Circle route from Pocket City to JFK, while still getting to the arrival here at Wilkes-Barre. It's just such a useful tool. So many great kind of tools in it. I just can't get over simbrief, you know. And this, for the longest time, this is free software offered to the community, a little more than an ad at the top. You know, like this kind of software, like the capabilities of this kind of software, people would pay really good money for. Maybe not all in the flight sim community because we're all cheapskates, but the capabilities of this software are really quite phenomenal. It always impresses me how effective the software is. When I first found this website, I was floored by it. I was like, how is this generating like an accurate Lido flight plan with this much input? You know, I couldn't believe that this guy, and then he was offering it for free. He did not charge a penny to anyone. Asked for donations. Didn't really actively ask. Just had a donate button up in the corner. But anybody who wanted to donate, you know, it was welcome to offset the cost. But wow, I remember when I first found simbrief, I was just floored by it, and I still am pointing it out to it. It's funny. It's one of the most popular flight simulation websites. It's never advertised, other than I think now there might be an ad occasionally on like the Navigraph website, but basically it's never advertised a day in his life. Just word of mouth, and there's literally, again, hundreds of thousands of members filing millions of flight plans, generating and filing millions of flight plans. What is it? Total users, 615,000 total users. OFPs in the past week, 353,000 OFPs, 5 million, wait a second, no, not 5 million, 50, almost 50 million OFPs since the website was launched. I don't know when it was launched, but 50 million OFPs generated. There's airlines that have not generated nearly that many OFPs, so it just blows me away. And just a fantastic site that like just the dispatch capability is great. So when we go to LA, Squibbly, we're gonna have to have a serious chat about routings. Because I guarantee you, from JFK to LAX, there's dozens of possible permutations of how you can get there. It's such a long flight, and the thing is that we will have to start doing some realistic dispatching. Look at the weather and try and pick something realistic. So today, the direct flight would probably actually work pretty well. But if there's weather in the middle of the country there, we're not going to take the direct flight. We will do what we need to get around it. That would be an even better flight. Kind of takes us just a little bit away from that. From the northern edge of this, that's probably almost an ideal flight for today. But there's all sorts of ways you can do it. You can go south, you can go right through it. I wouldn't do that one today. There's literally dozens of possible routes here. Depending on where the weather is today. So next week, or not next week, I don't know when we're going to do this, honestly, but whenever we do this, we've got to take a serious look at this and say how are we going to get from A to B, and it's a long flight, 6 hours. It's going to be a long flight. I think we'll need a break. So we're halfway through that, but it blows me away, simbrief every day, and how capable it is. My bandwidth is too low for data streaming. I have to switch to offline mode. Why is my bandwidth too low? Children, my children are probably watching too much Netflix. I'm going to see if I can turn it back on. Really. Oops, not that one. This one. Because I find even if it thinks there's enough bandwidth now, it won't do it again. That's annoying. Was it just because I wasn't looking at the sim for long enough? Did it get sad without me? Come on, you can do it. Okay, everything's back on. What do we got here? We still got an hour and a half to go, so we're about halfway there. An hour and a half to go, but we're getting there. We're getting there. But I don't know when we're going to do that next leg. Honestly, I don't. This is the last weekend I have off. I'll put my telephone. We're going to have a long and serious discussion about scheduling. I have no idea. There, I put my phone. Why am I risking my sim crashing? I like to live dangerously. Yeah. I don't know when I may want to do it during the week this week. I'm debating between trying to get this next leg done during the week, next week, or doing or doing an ATC stream next week, because I haven't done an ATC stream since Cross the Pond, which was 3 weeks ago now. And as great fun as it was, the funny thing is that really had no bearing on the fact that I haven't done an ATC stream. It's just simply the fact that I have been working so much that I haven't been able to. I'm just trying to think here. Yeah, so next Saturday is going to be a complete write-off for me because I will have work, so I'm going to probably set it up sometime this week maybe, or even the week after, during the week. But during the week's when it's going to happen, unfortunately. It's a long time. I'm just trying to think now, and it's going to be a challenge to squeeze that in. Yeah, I'm probably going to end up doing it. I'll probably end up doing it like on a weekday, like during a school day, and try and squeeze it in between the time I drop my kids off and the time I pick them up again. So yeah, if you want to meet me in the air halfway, but I'm thinking it's going to be like a 9 till 3 kind of deal, and it'll be full bore, pedal to the metal to try and get it done in less time. Because 6 hours and 15 minutes, that's a long stream. And yeah, trying to squeeze in like that chunk of a day, that's tough. I wish I'd been able to do it today. Today I probably could have gotten it done. From CBSA, last week our border saw over 1 million travelers, a new high since the start of COVID-19. Have your passport, ArriveCAN receipt, and proof of vaccination ready when crossing the border. Yeah. I will tell you this, that CBSA is not ready for it either. This summer is going to be a gong show if you're looking to travel this summer. None of the airlines are going to be ready. None of the airports are going to be ready. All these places laid off their workforce, like large percentages of the workforce, like airlines laid off 50-60% of their workforce, airports laid off some case more than that. Even CBSA and US Customs and everything else, they laid off big portions of their workforce. And it's inevitable when it happens, when you're laid off, when you lay off your employees, that some of them don't come back. I would say probably you're looking at the average of like 10% of people at least will not come back. And right now unemployment's at an all-time low. So people out there, there's jobs to be had if you want them. There's lots of jobs to be had. People that have been laid off for 6 months or 12 months. People have found other means of employment. So trying to find people to come in and fill those gaps is trying to, you know, like a lot of these places, like a lot of these jobs are not jobs that you can just hire someone off the street and, hey, you start tomorrow and you're good to go tomorrow. Like a lot of these jobs need sometimes weeks and months of training. Pilots obviously need a lot more than that, but even, you know, to work CBSA or even working on the ramp at the airport for an airline takes months, takes at least weeks, if not months of training. So even when they decide that travel's coming back and you start trying to hire people and trying to find people, and even then people don't want to necessarily come and work for you, it takes a long time to get people up to speed again. A lot of people quit. A lot of people who got laid off just quit. They just found something else they couldn't afford to get by on whatever they were getting, CEWS, whatever wage subsidy or whatever they were getting. So they quit and they found different jobs. So a lot of airlines are vastly understaffed. I heard an anecdotal story that WestJet was trying to hire for the East Coast of Canada. They were short about 100 employees between the various East Coast airports. So between gate agents and ramp staff and everybody else, operations staff. Between everybody, they were short like 100 people, so they decided to have a job fair to try and get a whole bunch of resumes and hire a whole bunch of people. So they held a job fair, and apparently 4 people showed up. 4 people showed up. I don't even know if all 4 of them got the job, but they were looking to hire 100 people, and they got 4 people to show up to their job fair, which just goes to just speaks to how understaffed these airlines are and how they're not ready. And I'm more than a little concerned about how this summer's going to turn out, because I think a lot of people want to travel. Like even now, flights are full. Almost all the flights are full all the time. Not totally full, but like we're back to load factors of 80-90% regularly on most flights, it seems. So what's going to happen when we start trying to bump up the number of flights even more, and then you have a bad weather day? Canada Customs is a perpetual problem in Toronto, and it's not necessarily their fault. They have so much more to do than they ever did before. Now they're not only doing their customs duties of inspecting immigration documents and passports and trying to stop smuggling across the border and whatnot, but now throw on top of that public health issues. So they've also got to check your vaccine passport. They got to ask where you're staying when you get here and all those other questions. Verify that your arrive can's complete, all that stuff. Just twice as much workload on for each person crossing the border now. And they really have not beefed up their staffing very much, so you'll often end up waiting 30 minutes, an hour after you get to the gate in Toronto, because the customs hall is full and there's no room for more people to go in it. So they make you wait on the airplane until there's room for you to get until there's room for your airplane to get off and go in the customs hall. So yeah, Nexus is a godsend, but even that won't stop you if you're being held on the airplane. If you're being held on the airplane, Nexus or no, you're waiting on the airplane for an hour. Everybody waits on the airplane until that customs hall is empty enough. I've got Nexus. Fortunately, as a flight crew member, we get a bypass line that we get past a lot of the lineups. But even then, sometimes we're competing with the Nexus people. It's I've waited 20 or 30 minutes sometimes to get through customs, whether Canada Customs or U.S. Customs. Both are understaffed for the jobs they're trying to do. And the customs lineups, especially Canada Customs, in the afternoon and into the evening, when you get all the heavy arrivals from Europe and elsewhere, literally 30, 45 minutes to an hour wait just to get into the customs hall, let alone then get through the customs hall. So, and it's not just customs; it's every aspect of the airlines are understaffed right now, and I think the airlines are trying their best to hire, but nobody wants to come work for what do the jobs they're asking people to do for the pay that they're asking right now, with the way inflation's going and the job market being as competitive as it is. The wages that airlines are offering are just not competitive with a lot of other jobs. So yeah, if you're going to go travel, I would travel before summer really hits its peak. I would travel next month. I would not travel through July and August of this year. I think they're both going to be total gong shows at the airport. Now you may luck out. You may get a day where the weather's good and there's no operational issues, and things are fine. But I would expect more often than not that things are going to be quite delayed this summer, because everything's overworked, under-resourced, and the airlines are just trying to make back the money they lost over the last 2.5 years. They've got eyes that are bigger than their stomachs right now, and they can see that people want to travel. They can see the demand is there, and they're going to try and fill the demand. They're going to try and sell the number of tickets anyways that they think they can sell. But whether they have the resources to pack that up, I'm very skeptical. Very skeptical. Even the last little while, it's been very challenging to kind of keep things on time, and we haven't even reached that peak of summer yet. So it's going to be interesting. Anyways, I'm more than a little skeptical that we're going to be able to manage it. I hope. I hope that we can do it. I'm going to do my best, but at the end of the day, there's only so much each person can do, and if you don't have enough people doing the jobs, you're going to fall behind, and you're going to get further and further behind as the days go on. Hi. Anywho. What else can we chat about? I did, actually. I mentioned this a couple times, a couple streams previous, and actually I could have segued into this from talking about how complex the 737 is. But I did actually finally add a new airplane to my hangar here in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I want to practice it a little bit before I start showing it off on stream at all, because I'm a little bit scared of it, to be honest. So I finally got myself a little bit of extra revenue for my channel, and I decided to bite the bullet and buy the Concorde from DC Designs. So I have I actually just did it yesterday, and I played with it a little bit yesterday, flew it twice yesterday. It was a pretty big debacle, I gotta say, but it's I mean, and don't get me wrong, it's my shortcomings that are causing me grief in that airplane. I am very used to having an electronic flight display in everything I fly now. Having a moving map display, having an electronic attitude direction indicator, you know, I'm very used to that. The Concorde has none of that. The Concorde has none of that. You are flying old school. You've got a 6-pack of instruments in front of you. You've got an HSI with a VOR needle on it. You can link it to your INS, but I mean, you still don't even have a moving map anywhere. You're still just sort of measuring off distances and track lines, and at the speed that you're moving in the Concorde, that could be a challenge. And that's what I found, was that I did 2 flights in it yesterday. I did one where I basically just kind of got going into the circuit back to the same airport just to sort of prove that I could get it off the ground and back down to the ground. And first of all, my circuit, because I was doing 250 knots, and then before I knew it, I was doing 350 knots. My circuit was huge. My circuit was about a 50-mile circuit around the airport. By the time I got back and sort of got established on final again, it was ridiculously big. My second one was I tried to actually do like a short flight just to sort of prove I could do it. And again, so fast, and without the moving map to sort of help me relate to it, what I found myself doing was what I found myself doing was I pulled up my Navigraph charts, and I was just watching the airplane fly on the Navigraph charts, because that was the only kind of moving map, and I just needed that moving map to sort of have a comprehension of where I was. The trouble with the INS in it, and again, it's not a realistic INS, because what Microsoft Flight Simulator's current interface does not allow for a very realistic INS system in the aircraft. So what they basically do is have a very basic kind of GPS FMS masquerading as the INS system in there. It's also at a very awkward angle. I find that, like, you really have to kind of lean like way forward to see it straight on. Like, these are very nice, clear, multicolored displays. The INS display in the Concorde, first of all, it's a monochrome orange, very kind of small fonts. You really have to kind of get close to see what it says, and because you don't have a moving map to look at as well, like, you really are kind of constantly looking down there. So I found it was very hard for me to kind of keep track of what I was doing, what fix was next on my list, and where I was in the flight plan. I found myself very much struggling with that, and especially because you're moving at such a high rate of speed. At a minimum, you're basically moving at 250 knots. Below 10,000 feet, you're always doing 250 knots, and above it, you're going even faster. I found it very hard to kind of keep track of what I was doing. But the other side of it too is that it's an incredibly complicated airplane. The way it's actually been set up by DC Designs, you can actually start it pretty quickly, but if you want to go through an actual Concorde checklist, the thing is, it's a 3-person aircraft. It's an aircraft with a flight engineer. So the flight engineer has a lot of stuff to do before you get going. So if you want to simulate that role and do everything the flight engineer has to do before you get going, my God, it takes a long bloody time. Holy moly. The first time I kind of did the quick and dirty start that was straight out of the manual, and I got the engine started, and I kind of got taxiing in about 20 to 30 minutes. The second time around, I wanted to follow a checklist, so I found a checklist that I thought seemed very reasonable, but to get to the takeoff was about page 4 of the checklist. It took me over an hour to get the airplane from cold and dark to engines running ready for takeoff. And that was really no INS programming pretty much either. I loaded the flight plan directly through Microsoft Flight Simulator's interface. It just, yeah, incredibly complicated airplane to kind of fire up and get going, and it's so much switch shifting. And again, I'm still learning that airplane, so following along step by step, 4 pages to get to the takeoff point. It took me a long time. It took me an hour the first time. So squibbly, when you go out in the 737 the first time, don't expect to get going in less than an hour, in all honesty. But enjoy the ride, because I think you're going to enjoy it. I think it, you know, people look at it and say it's incredibly complicated. It is incredibly complicated. It really, truly is. But at the same time, it's tons of fun. When you realize, like, you understand the airplane, you understand how to get it going. It's just, like I said, it's an incredible sense of satisfaction. So I think it's worth it. I think you'll enjoy it. And I think for what PMDG is going to charge, I don't think it's going to be too unreasonable for you to get into one of them. If you want to get into the 700, first of all, if I was a betting man, I think we're looking at about $60, somewhere in the neighborhood of $60 for each variant, maybe even less, maybe $50 for each variant. And then because between the 4 variants, that could end up costing you $200. I think even $50 is kind of a reasonable starting point for PMDG, and I think they're kind of playing with this. They really want to see how this is gonna go down. I think they've realized that people are not terribly happy with their pricing model, and I think they've realized that if they can price even just one variant down the market quite a bit, they'll get so many people into their products. You know, this new generation of flight simulator has just split this whole thing wide open, and if they can really kind of tap even 10% of the people who are new to the simulation world through Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's a huge new market for them. So I think by moving their price point downwards a fair bit, they have a good chance of tempting a lot of those people. So that's what I think they're kind of going for. And so I'm kind of optimistic that it's going to be in the $50 to $60 range for each variant. That's my optimistic hope. 50 probably I think at the low end. 60 I think is a reasonable target. I wouldn't be surprised if they went with 70 or 80. But again, Randazzo keeps saying he thinks people are going to be pleasantly surprised by the pricing, which makes me think, you know, it's going to be a fair chunk lower than what it has been before. And P3D was $100 for the base package. So my thinking is that like you're taking the base package and you're slicing easily 30 to 40% off if you want to make people pleasantly surprised. If you slice off just $10, that's not going to be a surprise to anybody. That's pretty much your old pricing structure. But I think, yeah, 30 bucks off from $100, so $70, 60, $70. I think it's very reasonable. Squibbly waited for me over an hour on tower when I was trying to start the Q500 last week. Yep. That's one airplane I know, that airplane cold. I can start that thing so fast, but yeah. I started that Concorde, it's just like, oh my god, and I looked at the clock and I'm like, oh my god, it's been an hour. This was last night. I was like, I meant to go to bed, like, I meant to go to bed at reasonable hours so I could get up and get this stream started on time, and it did not go the way I intended. That's why I picked a short flight. I was like, okay, I'm going to just play with my toy, I'm going to fire it up, I'm going to try and follow the checklist, fire it up, get going, and yeah, it did not go well. It's not that it didn't go well, it's just that it took a long time to get through every step, and just me hunting for switches and everything. But that's it. That's it. You start out, you're hunting. After the first couple times in the airplane, you're not going to be hunting. Even if you're looking at the checklist still, you know where everything is in the checklist. You're going to look down, you're going to look up. The other thing with the Concorde that makes it very awkward to operate is that half of what happens happens from the captain's seat, and half it happens from the flight engineer seat. So I had to set up a view of the flight engineer panel that was way back over here and sideways and everything, and I had to set up a custom view, and I was constantly dancing back and forth between them. Thank goodness for the custom views, but yeah, constantly dancing back and forth between flight engineer seat and captain seat, flight engineer seat, captain seat. So I think the Concorde is another airplane that could vastly benefit from having FS2 crew. Whether or not FS2 crew can support that, because it seems like a very basic airplane. I don't mean that in a bad way, but it just seems like it doesn't feel like there's a lot of customized stuff outside of the sim. It mostly depends on the sim, on the controls of the sim, which is good and bad. I mean, it's good because then you can control stuff using any generic kind of sim product, but the bad thing is that you're also hamstrung by the limitations of the sim. So it didn't seem like it was it had too much custom stuff going on behind the scenes. It seemed like it was fairly it was a good model, realistic model, and it seemed to operate reasonably well, but yeah, it seemed to piggyback on as much sim technology as possible, which again, some of it's good, some of it's bad. The thing I didn't like about it the most was I felt the textures inside, and you guys may probably seen videos by now, and maybe you can offer me your opinion on this. The textures felt a little bit lower quality than this sim can deal with. Looking around the flight deck of the Concorde, the DC Designs Concorde, I felt almost like I was looking around like a P3D flight deck. You know, stuff was there, but I just felt like the colors were a little bit too kind of bright. I felt like I was still looking kind of almost like more at an assembly assembly polygons than a more realistic actual flight deck. So that was one thing. Like I felt like the whole flight deck inside, the whole virtual cockpit, it felt a little bit too. The colors were a little bit too bright, too almost artificial, and like I said, like it almost looked like it looked like a set of polygons from the P3D era. It didn't look like it was taking full advantage of like the coloring and shading that's available. And there was some stuff in there, like there was some nice wear marks and stuff on various parts of the panel and sidewalls and stuff like that. But the modeling did not feel like it was quite up to the MSFS standard. Looking at some of the videos, even in this thing, you know, the switches don't look so much like polygons; they look like a real switch. But the things just looked a little bit still kind of basic in the Concorde, which is a little bit disappointing. Like everything still worked and the way it was supposed to, but it looked a little bit toy-like on the inside. Is maybe the best way to say it. Didn't look like a always very realistic model. Maybe that's just the way the Concorde was. Maybe those were the colors and the everything appeared in the aircraft. But it felt a little toy-like. And the outside looks really good, but the inside just feels a little toy-like. El Brodelberry. Welcome aboard. We are just about halfway from DFW to JFK. So let's see here. Just past Rosewood, we're coming up on Klein. There's Dutch and Washer. We're getting there. We're not there yet, but you can start to see in the distance. There's Jamestown. We're going to round Jamestown. You're going to start to see Lake Erie soon, and then you're going to eventually get onto this arrival into JFK. But yeah, still about an hour, a little over an hour till we get to JFK. Well, that's not too bad. We're going to start setting up soon. I know you posted the ATIS there squibbly, and I will set up soon. But yeah, I just want to talk about that Concorde a little bit more because I will fly it on stream eventually. But it's going to take me some time. I need to feel a little bit more comfortable. I felt all over the map, even flying that thing. It's going so fast, and without a moving map display to really kind of keep track of where I was, I really fell behind the 8-ball. Now, I was trying to do a very short flight. I was basically trying to simulate the delivery flight. So I flew from Bristol to London Heathrow. Can I go to the toilet during a flight? Yeah, probably. I would assume so. If you're flying on VATSIM, you can still do it. You just have to just make sure you're not gone too long. Or if you have a controller on frequency, just tell them you're going to be away for a couple of minutes. Don't tell them why. They don't need to know that you're going to the bathroom. They just tell them you're not going to be answering for a couple of minutes. They'll be fine with it, as long as they don't have anything that they need to tell you right away. Yeah, I just found that it was such a short flight, 24 minutes. Like, you know, we're pretty much airborne, and I'm still kind of reading the checklist and getting used to the airplane, and we're already planning the arrival into London. Like, such a short flight in that airplane. So I very much felt rushed through the whole thing. I'm looking forward to this week doing a full transatlantic flight in the Concorde and trying to hit Mach 2. But more importantly, taking my time. So, you know, a 2.5 hour flight, now you've got lots of time to start looking at the descent ahead of time, planning your descent, and again, reading through the manuals and the checklists about how to run the descent. So I'm looking forward to that. I just felt so rushed by the 24-minute flight from Bristol over to Heathrow. I couldn't even keep my wits about me. I was so far behind the airplane trying to kind of get the descend, trying to, you know, various things, and you got to make sure you. The autopilot's also a little bit more rudimentary than I'm used to, so that took some getting used to. Yeah, I want to try that on stream. I want to try that airplane on stream, but I want to take some time to kind of get used to it. I also noticed a few of the decals, I think, were a little bit of the decaling work was not quite right. There was one decal that was sort of floating in space in front of its switch, and there was another decal that was obviously incorrect and was doubled from another decal somewhere else. So there's a few minor issues in the airplane. It's definitely usable. It's definitely flyable. I mean, I had fun kind of getting it going. And don't get me wrong, like, well, you hit those afterburners and you feel the acceleration, and yet you still, because you need to hit like 200 knots before you rotate, you're still using most of the runway in front of you. And ditto for stopping, because I don't have any thrust reverser axis on my controls, which makes it very challenging to try and stop that thing. Yeah, I was relying solely on brakes because I really didn't have any thrust reversers available. I've got to see if there's a better way to activate my thrust reversers. I was trying to just sort of move the thrust reversers further into reverse, and it just, because I have an axis defined on my control column, it just was always going back to idle. So I found the reversers did not want to work in that airplane very well at all. Maybe FSU IPC would help with that by being able to define a reverser axis, because, yeah, I mean, I was able to stop on this one, on the one runway I'd landed on that was 8,000 feet, which was not a long runway, but it's long enough. But I only stopped with about 1,000 feet to spare, so it's an interesting airplane to fly. But yeah, it was interesting too, because I learned some stuff that I did not know about it. The Concorde had no APU, and it had no flaps, which, again, I think I knew that it didn't have any flaps. I didn't realize it didn't have an APU. It just starts off an electric starter. You just need ground power to start it, no APU. But I found that a little odd, because it's pretty rare to find a turbine engine that doesn't need an air start. That starts off with electric starters only, unless you're talking about like smaller turboprop level turbines. But almost any jet turbine needs an APU for start. So I'm flying across LGA at 190, fly east to the field, turn south on crosswind. I'm going to join the ILS 13 left via Covir, regardless of the ATIS. Yeah, that probably sounds good. Honestly, I didn't even check the ATIS too much, because I still look at it being almost too far away, but maybe I should start setting up shortly here. 127, 10 miles broken at 11,000. 41, 13 left. RNAV GPS 22 left. Departing 13 right. Yeah, yeah, we'll have to, let's have a look at it. Maybe it's now is a good time to actually start setting up, because yeah, we got those crossing restrictions on the arrival, so I'm gonna have to start having a look at it, see here what we've got. We still got a ways to go. We still got about 400 miles to go here, but yeah, we'll be on that arrival before too long, so let's start looking this up here and see what we can do. One thing I noticed as I quickly glance over at my stream here, I got over 10 viewers now, which is thank you guys for watching. The one nice thing about flying the the PMDG 737 when we do get it is that failures will be simulated, and I plan to stick to that. Maybe not for the first flight. We'll see how it goes. But I remember I kind of had a rule back in the day that if we could hit 10 viewers, I would try to fail something to make life a little more interesting for the viewers and for myself. And I think we're on the Lendy 7, right? Yeah. I will probably try to stick to that in the MSFS version. If I can get 10 viewers on a stream, I will try to fail something in that 737. We'll see. Let's see here, RNAV Zulu. Alright. So let's just have a look at the RNAV Zulu versus the ILS. Arrow, Crystal versus the RNAV Zulu. Crystal, so yeah, it's got the same fixes in there. I might try and fly the RNAV Zulu. And we'll just have to do it as a non-precision descent at FBA 3 degrees. Cross Crystal at 1500 descent at 3 degrees. We'll do it without the VNAV. But yeah, plan on that. So yeah, I'm going to plan on the... no, it's not 4 left. Sorry, it's 1-3 left. My bad. Alright. So ILS... Lokes 13 left, but let's see, what does the RNAV 13 left have for us here? Oh, it's one of these ones. This one. Yeah, it's one of those curving ones here. Alright, so what are they advertising? They're advertising 13 left, huh? RNAV Zulu 13 left, RNAV X-ray 22 left. Imagine I can't do the RNAV X-ray. Maybe I can. RNAV Zulu 13 left. You know what? I always love a good challenge. I may regret this, but I'm going to try my hand at the RNAV Zulu 1-3 left. I may regret this, but we're going to try that one. So let's go ahead and program that in here. We're coming up over Lake Erie. There's Lake Erie there. All right, we're getting there. We're making good progress here. I've been talking for a long time, apparently. All right, so let's change this up here. All right. RNAV 13 left, Zulu. Always an interesting approach. I like this one, though. I do. No transition. Landy 7 arrival. Insert. Alright, let's have a look here. So, Jamestown, Hoxie, Mac. So, let's just make sure they're all in there. Yeah, that all looks good in there. Alright, and then there's altitude restrictions on the Landy 7 arrival. They're all expect restrictions, so that's why they're not hard-coded in the FMS, but we're going to harden them up because most of these restrictions we do tend to get. So, Hardy expect 210, Landy expect 190 and 250 knots. Oops, wrong way. So Hardy at flight level 210. Can't even read that, it's so bright. Honestly, I can't even read that. I need to go to my MCDU here. Alright. MCDU. Alright, clear that out. That's what I'm looking for. Slash 210 at Hardy. There we go. And then, Lendy, 250 knots at flight level 190. Alright, and that's it, and then from there we go direct the LaGuardia VOR, and then overhead the LaGuardia VOR. We're going to expect radar vectors. Yeah, I'm going to probably put myself on a... I can probably try and put myself on a left downwind for runway 13 left. If New York Center's offline now, I haven't even checked it for a little while here. New York Center's still online, amazingly, but the longer he stays on, the more it makes me think he's going to log off soon. It's been 2.5 hours. I think he's going to log off soon. He's definitely taking advantage of that new VATSIM policy there with the extra towers. We'll talk about that as well. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, let's see here. What does the RNAV Zulu give me for a minimum here? LNAV only 1260 minimums. That on there. Alright, so let's do this. Let's get some landing numbers in here. And again, scrolling back up to your ATIS here, so the altimeter, let's see here. 3041, 15 degrees. It's a pretty nice day out there. 15 degrees. 3041. And again, 1260, right? 1260, yeah. 1260. On the barrel mins. We're going to do it as a flap full landing. That'll help with the maneuvering down low, but also just otherwise we get GPWS warnings. This airplane can only land full flap, otherwise we end up with GPWS warnings. So he'll log off on your first call. Thank you for your faith. I appreciate it. I know you're probably right. That's probably what annoys me the most, is that you're probably correct. Okay. So we got most of that in there. The one thing I'm also going to look up really quickly on the other computer, just so I find FlightAware is one of those websites that's so intensive that it slows everything else down. I'm just going to look up a gate number here. So for KDFW-KJFK for American Airlines, let's find a flight number here. No, that's not right. Just want to find a gate number. Yeah, so find a flight number. American Airlines 2292 arrived yesterday. So the first flight today is scheduled in 2 hours. Arriving at gate 5. Gate 5 it says, and I think you have to know what terminal you're going to, though, for that to be valid. think we normally go to Terminal 8. It's the American Airlines terminal, if I remember correctly. And anybody please correct me if I'm wrong here. Let's see here, American Airlines, JFK, Terminal 8. Yeah, Terminal 8. Okay, perfect. So Terminal 8, Gate 5. So right in here is where we're going to nestle ourselves in here. So, yeah, so we got that plan there. So let's get that chart up there. And then I think we're just about ready for a briefing. The only thing I'm going to do is just do a little bit of descent planning here. So for the first restriction, 210. Let's get the calculator first of all here for top of descent. So target altitude 21000. Sync our current altitude, 3 degrees. We need 57 miles to descend. And landing. Let's see if I can pull. Hey, look, the Metar worked. Nice. I like it. Runway altitude. It's pretty much sea level there, I think. Yeah, 13 feet. Say 0. Landing distance available in meters. We'll need page 2. Oh, no, I saw it on there. It's there. 3,048 meters. 8. Flaps full. Approach speed. .125. There we go. Even on low, we're going to use 2,000 of the 3,000 meters. Medium uses 1,400. It's 10,000 foot runway. Yeah, if we can use half the runway, we'll use medium braking just because that'll get us to stop hopefully before we cross 22 right, which is the other arrival runway. So that would be more useful. So we'll put it on medium braking. All right. Just passing that by there. There's Wilkes-Barre. And we'll have Hardy shortly after that. I think I'm going to just step away for about 5 minutes here. I think I hear nature calling. And that will leave me well situated for this arrival here. So, yeah, I think I'm going to step away for just a couple minutes here. This really quick here, guys. So I will be back in about 5 minutes here. Just gonna go and step away and just make sure I maybe even refill my coffee cup. But we'll do that briefly as soon as we get back. But we just need just a couple minutes away just to make sure we're all well rested for this arrival. So stick with me, guys. I'll be right back. How long the stream is. It's already almost 3 hours long. I mean, I guess that's why we're almost there. I can't believe I've been talking for that long. That's the crazy thing. These things do wear out my voice, and definitely that next stream, New York to Los Angeles. I'm not gonna sit here for the whole time. I can't talk that long. My voice will break in around the 3-hour mark. Probably it's already almost breaking. Need a little bit of water to help keep my voice going here. But now that took a little break there, stood up for even just a minute, that kind of helped. But yeah, we are getting towards New York here. My fingers are failing me here. I'm thinking properly here. Alright, but we are getting towards New York. We're going to do a little turn to the right here at Jamestown, then it's almost a straight shot to New York from there. From Jamestown, hopefully New York stays online. And we should be able to get an ATIS from JFK shortly here. Does he have an ATIS from JFK? Yeah, he does. So this is one of the neat things that happened recently. I thought this was really neat. This is super cool. I didn't know this was coming. I don't know if anybody else knew this was coming, but it was completely out of left field here. But let's just play with this a little bit here. MCDU and AOC menu, ATIS, JFK, and send. Give it a couple seconds here, and we should see a company message come up here. I believe it appears in here. Company message. There it is. Receive messages. ATIS from VATSIM. So this is the controller has actually put up this information. JFK information, Romeo 51, 120 at 7, 10 miles per 11,000, 3041, RNAV Zulu 13 left, departing 13 right. So he doesn't have 22 up there. If he's still there, he's not going to want you to do 22. He's going to want you to do the RNAV Zulu 13, or yeah, 13 left. It's a bit of a pain, but yeah. I mean, you're probably safe to bet that I took the direct DMAC. Trying to stay ahead of me, are you? Trying to get there sooner. Yeah, I'm hoping that guy's going to still be there when we get there. I feel like he's been there. He's you know, it's like the stale green light at the intersection. It's like it's been green just a little bit too long. He's been on just a little bit too long. He's getting ready to check out. I don't know what else he's got planned today. Maybe he's going to do like a record session and stay on for 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, but maybe he's going to be on his way out the door in the next half an hour. It's hard to know. It's really hard to know. There's a New York approach controller on there as well. LaGuardia approach, but there's a New York approach controllers there. So it's hard to know, but yeah, they're only listing the RNAV Zulu runway 13 left in the VATSIM JFK ATIS. So I would think, yo, do you think MSFS is good without VATSIM? So it says TTV Maize Milk Cart. That's an interesting name. when you're scraping the bottom of the barrel for Twitch names, and you got to come up with something that's unique and individual. I think MSFS is still fantastic without VATSIM, don't get me wrong. I still love to fly the sim. You know, it's always a lot of fun, and I want to do this on stream one of these days too, is those bush tours. The bush tours that are in the main menu there, they are tons of fun. Just trying to find your way from one airport to the next. Well, if you took direct DMAC, then I'm going to freaking take direct DMAC. Why am I the only sucker who's flying the whole filed route here? So fine, direct DMAC. There. You convinced me. You are my ATC controller. Yes, it's still totally worth it without. It's just a question of levels of immersion, and that's what it comes down to. Is Microsoft Flight Simulator is great to begin with, but you just throw VATSIM on top of that with talking to people on frequency and getting real people vectoring you around. It just adds more. I will gladly, you know. Dumb question is LaGuardia approach covering JFK. Yeah, New York confuses me too. I honestly don't know. My first instinct is to say no. Usually the way I like to think of New York is as 3 slices of pie. There is a circle around New York, and there are 3 airports that get 3 slices of pie. There's LaGuardia, there's JFK, and there's Newark, and each one gets a different slice. Newark gets the west side, LaGuardia gets the north side, JFK gets the southeast side. As far as I can tell on VATSIM, very seldom do the controllers overlap each other. If you get one segment, you get one slice of the pie, that's all you get. And usually, yeah, I would expect usually, yeah, if he's on his LaGuardia approach, he doesn't usually cover New York, just like he won't cover Newark. Each one's their own separate slice of the pie, and they're not allowed to cover the other ones normally, as far as I understand it. That's been my impression anyway. So yeah, we'll have to, hopefully New York Center will cover us down to the ground, because if he's still there, because yeah, I don't think LaGuardia approach well. But yeah, and that's why the stars are structured the way they are as well. We are going to fly basically right over the center of New York at still like 19,000 feet, going down to like 12,000 feet, because we're flying over the other 2 slices of pie to get to our slice of pie on the southeast side. And that's why some of the stars are structured the way they are, and you stay so high until you're almost over your destination, because you're going to get down when you get into that section. Just like guys landing Newark, coming from the east, they either go around to the north or they go right overhead, but they basically go around to the north. The guys going to JFK come right over the top and go down. So it's a very awkward airspace, the way it's laid out. There's no good way to get the number of stars into 3 major airports. That's the thing about New York. It's probably the craziest airspace in the world because it has 3 major international airports within about a 15-mile radius of each other. Like, it's just so close together. And how do you route aircraft in and out of these? And they have like parallel runways, but they also have like intersecting runways. You know, depending on which way the winds are coming from, the runways that are selected at each airport are not just affected by the winds at that particular airport, but also by the configurations that are needed at the other 2 airports. So the 3 airports are so close together, their airspace is so tightly linked and interlocked that you know, they can't unilaterally change a runway without having communicated with the TRACON and determining what runways are in use at the other 2 airports as well. Because the airspace is so tight, it impacts each of the airports every time you change runway configurations. So, yeah, very complicated airspace to try and fly through and control. But yeah, I think the basic answer is no. I'm turning into Randazzo. I'm just making long-winded answers here, but the basic answer is no. I don't think we're going to get any control from LaGuardia control. We can always hope that the New York controller comes on there. The New York TRACON controller comes on for JFK, but I don't think LaGuardia will cover us. So hopefully New York Center stays on long enough. So he's getting long in the tooth now. He's been almost 3 hours. By the time we get there, he's going to be over the 3-hour mark. Yeah, LaGuardia approach covers LaGuardia White Plains. The Newark approach controller usually covers Teterboro, although there is also a separate frequency for that as well, sometimes depending on the volume of traffic that's out there. And the JFK probably covers also the eastern airports, Long Island and whatever else is out there. Farmingdale. I'm trying to remember the other airports that are out there on the east side. Yeah. Anywho, maybe it's time to do an approach briefing, and then we can chat more. Are you ready for the approach briefing? Are you ready for the approach briefing? You have control.
I have control.
Are you ready for the approach brief?
Ready.
All right. So I've got my FMS up here. We're going to pull the charts down as well. All right. So the speeds are in and the landing distance is checked. We're going to be doing the Lendy 7 arrival into New York Kennedy Airport. Plate. Let's see here. Where is it? There it is, 20-2 Bravo, effective the 24th of March of 2022. Speed restriction applicable to turboprop and turbojet aircraft capable of operating 250 knots or greater at flight level 190. That's us. DMEs required, radars required. And notes the routing is as published here, so it is starts at Wilkes-Barre, LVZ, and then it goes to Geno, Hardy at flight level 210, Stillwater, Lendy, turbojets expect 250 knots at flight level 190, that's what we're expecting, and then we can start drifting further down after that towards LaGuardia VOR. Yeah. And then I would imagine, in this case, since they're departing 13 right, 13 left, we're probably going to get sort of, vectored over the field and onto a right downwind for 13's left RNAV, I think. That's what we're going to get there. That's my best guess anyways, but hopefully the New York approach controller is there. If not, that's what I'm going to plan on, is I'm going to plan on kind of doing join a downwind here for 13 left and descend on this downwind and then turn back inbound once we're low enough. Alright, so my plan is RNAV Zulu runway 13 left. This is a fun one because it's got the arcing curve to final. I think it's fun. I think we're going to enjoy this one. You get a good view of New York this way as well. But again, this kind of goes to what I was talking about with all the other interlinked airports, because if I overlay really quickly here, and it's kind of I digress moment here, but oops, do that for now. But come on, just show me what I want to see here. See, here's LaGuardia right here. So chances are they're probably arriving runway 04 in LaGuardia right now, and that's why we're using this approach. So the 04 LaGuardia arrivals usually come down the Hudson River and then get turned on base, or they're straight in. Yeah, you can imagine runway 04 is right here. Hence this arrival course is pretty much parallel to that. So you can imagine LaGuardia's arrivals are all over here. JFK's arrivals are all going to do this, circle around from the east and join this arrival from the east. That's why they don't want to use these these straight in 1-3 arrivals if they can avoid it, because then it creates a real conflict with LaGuardia's arrivals there. Anywho, that's neither here nor there. RNAV Zulu runway 13 left, plate 22-3, effective on the 17th of June of 2021. Final approach course 134. We see, yeah, we do see courses on here. So the last one there is 134. Canarsie 2,000 feet. Yep, LNAV MDA 1260, and we did set that. If I can just look up there for a second, it is set up there. Yep. The airport elevation is 13 feet, and our landing field elevation is auto to 0. That's perfect. The MSA, all sectors around 13 left, is 2,900 feet. Missed approach if we need it. Do not exceed 210 knots until CCAV. Climb to 4,000 feet on FMS lateral path to 13 left, then direct CCAV. And track 073 to Herbo and hold. So we have to continue to follow this path and then direct to CCAV. If unable to follow the FMS lateral path, turn to heading 100 degrees. Then climb to 4,000 feet, direct CCAV. See, we don't have CCAV in here, so we'll try to fly that, but then eventually we're going to have to go direct to CCAV at some point. And then track 073 to Herbo and hold. Radars required VGSI and ILS. VGSI descent angle not coincident. VGSI angles 3 degrees. Threshold crossing height 74 feet, whereas we are crossing the threshold at 58 feet. And database coded to the runway. Cross Lisa, fly visual to the airport via lead-in lights to runway 13 left. Close adherence to flight track required for noise abatement. So as much as possible, we got to try and follow this track. Once we disengage the autopilot, we'll probably hand fly, probably inbound from Lisa. Make the turn a little bit more effective and make sure we're able to line up on time. We got Poppies on the left, frills, and ALSF2 lighting systems available. Hopefully it's turned on. 3-degree glide slope. 2 miles is the minimum visibility as long as everything's functioning. And we got to have VMC kind of day there in JFK. Landing on 13 left, we'll take a convenient right turn off the runway. We're probably going to plan to roll off around Zulu Alpha. That probably works best. And then we're coming around to the far side, November Bravo entrance of Terminal 8. So I would expect we're probably going to get the counterclockwise Bravo taxiway all the way around to November Bravo. Or we might get clockwise Alpha. We'll see what happens. Again, we're going to Gate 5 at Concourse B. So right over here, and yeah, that's about it. Terrain, again, 2,900 feet around the whole airport. Weather is VMC. I don't think the winds were even that strong, were they? Let's just check. Receive messages. Check it one more time here. 120 at 7. Pretty light winds. VMC, not an issue. 10 degrees. Visibility's not perfect, but not too bad. 3041. I'm just going to set that on the standby here, so it's ready to go. Here. Alright, so operational NOTAMs. Let's go and have a quick look at the NOTAMs now that we've done the whole briefing here. No, not that page, that page. And we still got our NOTAMs here for the departure, so there's the arrival. Pardon me. Bravo Edge. Anything closed? Tango Alpha between Alpha and Terminal 8. Have a quick look over here. Yeah, right there, that's fine. That doesn't affect us too much. Signs not standard. Radio altimeter unreliable. Auto land HUD to touchdown. Flight distance touchdown. Not required. Not approved. Alternate methods. Compliance. 13 left, RNAV, RNP, that's not us, Mike Charlie. Position. too exciting. Taxiway Tango Alpha again, Tango Bravo, 4 left. Approach procedures, ILS. RNAV, anything for the RNAV? 1-3 left. Nope, I don't see anything. Lundy 7 arrival. Disregard, expect Hardy at flight level 210. Should read, expect Geno at 230. Ha! There you go. Helps to read the NOTAMs. Alright, let's change that up really quickly while we're down here. So, let's see if I can clear out this one. Nope, doesn't like it. Now that's in there, I can't clear it out. 230 at Geno. Anywho. Alright, that's it. Any questions?
No questions.
Alright. We top and drop eventually here, but we still got a little ways to go. Somehow I think you're further ahead of us. I think you've been going faster than I have somehow.
Check.
You? Where are you? You're already in New York's airspace, and I'm getting close, so let's go ahead and dial them up. 2532. Just looking at that spy, we're getting pretty close. We might actually talk to some ATC for once. Or this would be just like Kansas City last week where he tells us to get lost. 2532.
Stay, freight monthly change the crew. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you for the great ATC. Just fine at 6-1.
New York Center, good morning. American 2844, flight level 390.
American 2844, New York, good afternoon. Squawk 7134.
7134, American 2844. Go 7134. Hey, he's not
American 2844, thanks for the contact. Head him off northwest of the Stony Fork DUR, cross Geno at and maintain flight level 230.
Alright, Geno at maintain flight level 230, American 2844. Nope. Don't actually do it now. No. I don't want to go down just yet. Shoved it in, that was my mistake. That was my mistake. I didn't mean to do that.
New York Center, good afternoon. Speedbird Concorde 001, flight level 600, Mach 2, 146 miles from Kenda.
To the Concorde 001 Heavy, New York, good morning, sir. Reset transponder squawk 7111, 7111.
So there's Lindy right there. So 40.
We'll recycle transponder for 7111, Speedbird Concorde 001
so
Heavy.
We're still about 70 miles to go till top and drop here, something like that. All right, we're getting there. It's actually, it didn't feel that long, although my voice is dying. My voice keeps on dying here.
United 3424 for taxi. United 2404, squawk mode Charlie, please. Runway 22 right of Whiskey, taxi via Bravo, Romeo, and Whiskey.
Alright, so the one thing, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but some of you are probably aware of this, but a really neat thing that happened last week on the VATSIM network, or this week on the VATSIM network. And again, I didn't know this was happening. This sort of, to me, it came out of nowhere. It probably was. It's been in the works for a long time, obviously. It's not something that can happen suddenly and unexpectedly. But VATSIM made an announcement that you can now have, as a controller, for a trial period for the next 60 days, you can have multiple ATISs running at the same time. So in the past, the VATSIM Code of Conduct has limited people to one connection to the network at a time, with a single exception that controllers can have a second connection to the network for running an ATIS. So because your ATIS is basically, it's almost like a separate user that you connect to the network. So there was that exception that allowed a second connection to the network, which had a different voice channel and everything else for VATSIM controllers. That was the only exception. You were allowed to have 2 connections to the network, and every controller was limited to having 1 ATIS running at the same time. Last week they decided that they are going to start a trial, and we're going to see how this goes, where you can now connect up to 4 different ATISes to the network, and you'll see that people are doing this like crazy now. So here's New York, and so this guy here, Amin, has got 2 different ATISes up and running. 3 ATISes up and running, actually. He's got the LaGuardia ATIS up and running, and LaGuardia's got the White Plains ATIS up and running. So he's got 3 different ones running. You come over here, and you can see that Moncton Center is online here, and he's got actually 1, 2, 3 different ATISes running, and then he's actually got the 4th one, the one at Halifax running as well. So a lot of guys are starting to do this now. A lot of people are starting to do this. Stop using from guys. You can see he's at the Fort Worth Center. He's got 2 extra ATISes up and running here. Los Angeles has got 2 extra ATISes up and running. So starting to see more and more people running multiple ATISes at the same time. Let's see if anybody's doing it here in Europe here. Yeah, it looks like a couple guys in Europe, a couple people in Europe are starting to do this. So it's neat because it allows you to have like just ATISes. ATIS is pretty low maintenance as a controller, but it gives you a chance to put the information out there at multiple airports and kind of lure people into other airports to fly to. So as a Toronto controller, I can have an ATIS up in Pearson. I can then have one maybe in City Centre. I can have one in Ottawa, which is a popular destination, and I can have a 4th one somewhere. So it allows us a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more chance. Like oftentimes I've changed an ATIS halfway through my session to sort of correspond to where the traffic is. Okay, the traffic was all in Toronto to begin with, but then they all flew to Ottawa and there's nobody in Toronto anymore, so I changed my ATIS to Ottawa halfway through my session. It's not a bad thing, what if someone spawns into Toronto now? There's no ATIS there. So it's such a kind of a useful tool for center controllers, especially who cover such a large area. Oftentimes with multiple major airports. What a neat way of doing things to have multiple ATIS available to you. So it's only a trial right now on VATSIM. It's a 60-day trial. It started just this past week, so I guess it's going to probably about June 20th. They're going to see how it goes. I think they're going to see how much extra workload it puts on the network versus how much the users enjoy it and get some benefit out of it. So I'm curious to see if it's something that's going to stick around in the long run. I hope so. I think it's very useful. Anyways, I think so often I've wanted to have multiple ATISes up and running. When you're the only center controller online and you see guys, you see 5 guys flying from Vancouver to Kelowna, and you're like, I wish I had an ATIS at both ends of their flight so they can at least get an information. So, Squibbly, why are you so stressed? Don't be stressed. It's going to be fine. We only need about 50 miles to get down to London here, so it's just... Or to Genoa, I should say. Yeah, we're coming up to Genoa pretty quick here. We're going to start down in the next 2 or 3 minutes here. Might do is I might just switch us to FPA mode, and then since I planned at a 3-degree slope, I can just go down at a 3-degree slope and it should hit Genoa pretty nicely there. Alright, so Genoa at 230, 50 miles, we're just about 50 miles there now. Let's do it. -3-degree slope. FPA -3. Since our VNAV is not very effective anyways, I might as well just do it manually. So 3-degree FPA, down we go. Are you stressed out about doing this visual approach there? The arcing turn to final. I think it's gonna be fun. I enjoy a good challenge. I enjoy a good visual approach. One of my favorite approaches is the river visual into DCA. That's a fantastic approach. But also the expressway visual into LaGuardia is also tons of fun.
As you may have noticed, we have begun our
New York Center, Sleeper Concorde 1, heavy.
Now would be a good time to wrap up.
There's a lot of Concords flying these days.
Concorde 1 heavy, New York, go ahead.
If you are up, once you return to your seat...
we have information, Sierra, current for JFK, and we do have the altimeter 3040. Can we get the Parkway visual into runway 13 right?
Severe Concorde 1 heavy... Yeah, we'd like 13 right or 13 left?
Would prefer 13 right. We do leave a lot of run-out space.
Alright, that's fine. You can expect that.
Yeah, I can vouch for that now.
Whiskey ready to go.
I am, yeah, I'm pretty,
Okay, now 2404.
I'm stoked to fly this Concorde on stream eventually, but you give me a couple of times flying this thing. Really kind of feel like I've started to master it because it's a plane that I've never flown before. I've never flown a Concorde before in any iteration in any sims, and it's very different from other airplanes. You know, there's no flaps. It goes so fast. It accelerates. You know, once you get airborne, it accelerates.
Right turn there, heading 040.
Pretty darn quickly.
Sorry, right turn 040, United 90.
So I'm looking forward to it, but it's going to be a very it's a steep learning curve for me. I definitely need to practice quite a few times before I do it on stream, just to sort of feel like I know what I'm doing. Because otherwise, I'm just going to be sitting there on stream reading the checklist the whole time, trying to figure out what I'm doing.
For last day, I'll call you New York. Just say the call plan one more time.
Fly Zoom 00.
But I am looking forward to getting that PMDG 737, nevertheless, because I'm definitely going to do some failures with it too. Maybe not the first flight out, but we'll see. If we can keep the number of people watching this channel up there, in the 10 or plus, I'll definitely consider running failures. It just adds so much interest to the flight. I mean, at the end of the day, like,
is 7166.
the reason why we need pilots is to handle adversity. Not every flight goes perfectly. Far from it. And how do you deal with what happens? And that's something else that can also happen too. Like, you take self-loading cargo here. There's a fun little piece of software. Wow, look at my satisfaction rate. Everyone's loving this flight.
To maintain flight level 190.
So maintain flight level 190. That's 2 times.
The reason everyone probably loves it is because we left so early, 15 minutes ahead of schedule. I was scheduling the liftoff for the departure for 45, and we left like 30. We got boarded, and we left early. But something else you could do with this is, you know, you could have medical issues. You know, and obviously this is something that has been thought about.
Golf, reduce the speed to 50.
But you could have medical issues, and maybe it's severe enough that it necessitates diversion halfway to your destination. Maybe it's a mild medical issue that gets resolved with a little bit of first aid. You know, these are the kind of things you deal with. Security issues, you know, unruly passengers is not something you want to deal with, but it's something that does have to get dealt with from time to time.
United 2404.
Delays, man. If you wanted to simulate the aviation industry for real, just delays. Just sit down in front of the simulator and then sit there for 3 hours and stare at nothing. And say your ramp crew hasn't showed up yet. That's a realistic flight time. There's so much that goes on in the aviation industry, and so often you're delayed, you're just sitting there and you're staring at everything because you have nothing, you have no power over it, you have no control over it. Oh, the fuel truck didn't show up. Now I'm going to be sitting here staring out the window, making a PA to the passengers every 20 minutes.
New York, hello sir, squawk
30 minutes trying to explain to them why we're late, why we haven't left yet. Well, the fuel truck didn't show up, and we kind of need fuel to get from A to B. People kind of understand that, but why did the fuel truck show up? I don't know. A bunch of guys called in sick to work today, they're having a work to rule campaign, I don't know. We never freaking know. You try and find out, nobody ever has answers for you. The bigger the airline, the harder it is to ever get answers to.
November.
As you get into these bigger and bigger airlines, oh my god, it's like pulling teeth trying to get any kind of answer about anything.
Your number 1 standby.
So yeah, airline business can be so stressful, and most of the stress tends to occur before you depart. You're just like, why are we not leaving yet? Why are we still sitting here on the ramp? Why are the bags not loaded? Why is there no, why, and nobody ever has an answer.
Contact over Stony Fork, DUR, just want to maintain 9,000, the Allentown altimeter is 3038.
Nobody ever has an answer, so it's very frustrating, but yeah, you want to, I should do that, I should create an app for all you simmers out there, and you just simply hit your departure time, and then you put it in front of you, and it says why you're not leaving departure time, and you have to sit there and stare at your sim until it says, okay, everything's done. There's no ramp crew yet.
ILS 22 left is available if you wish.
Alright, yeah, 22 left, thank you. Delta 34 Papa.
Yeah, the fuel truck's not... fuel truck's not available or whatever. Passengers are stuck in customs, you know. Oh, we have to sequence a bag because the passengers didn't show up on time. There's 1,000 reasons why a flight is delayed. There's 230.
And remember 264 Tango Golf.
Pretty much right at General. It's pretty well done.
Send it via text there. Advise if you're able
but
to.
yeah, just airline delay simulator.
We can,
right?
program that
I could write that up and make millions selling it to you guys.
Thank you.
1,000 reasons why you haven't left on time, and this stuff that happens, like you can't even make it up. Like you think you've been in the business for 10 or 15 or 20 years and you've seen it all.
United 2404.
Every day there's a new reason why you're late. It's not just the same old reasons over and over again. There's also new and more creative reasons why we're late. Oh, the fuel or the
2844 across Lundy, how to maintain flight 190 and 250 knots.
Lundy at 190 250 knots. American 2844.
United 90 heavy, is on frequency?
Oh, we can't leave because the potable water hose got frozen to the airplane because we left it on there too long. After the water stopped flowing and it's minus 20 out. How about that? How about the catering truck broke down behind the airplane? So we can't push you back because there's a catering truck broken behind you that we're waiting for a tow truck to come and get it.
Alright, we're off to departure now. We got it figured out. United 90, thank you.
190 will require 13 miles. You know, there's the reasons why just never end. So we need about 20 miles to get down at 3. Let's even do it at, can I change the angle here?
Sorry, fly zoom 002, second please.
Just looking for push and stop.
That's at your discretion, advise when ready to taxi please.
Okay, we'll do full
0.5.
Delta 34 Papa Golf after Lundy,
yeah, you cannot make up some of the reasons why you end up delayed, and you just got to roll with it. But
after Lundy, we'll
yeah, you want to make these simulations realistic, guys? Just spend hours staring at your sim without doing anything. Get searched first before you show up. Get someone to stand outside your sim room, search you before you come in your sim room.
The heading again,
170.
And then come sit in the airplane and stare at it for 2 hours before you actually get to go anywhere. That's a realistic simulation of airline flying.
No, maintain flight level 200 for now.
Alright, maintain 220 for now.
This job's not as glamorous as it once was, I gotta say. We're gonna need some time to slow down from 290 to 250 as well, so we'll start down about 25 miles.
United 2404, correct, Y.
Again, United 2404.
United 2404, clear direct Y.
We might have ATC all the way to the ground. I'm going to be very impressed. It's not something we normally get. Alright, 30 miles to go to Lundy, so about 5 more miles. We'll start down.
About 222 to kind of maintain 13,000. The Kennedy altimeter is 3040.
3040, descend maintain 13,000. 222.
Philadelphia departure, TPC 239, climbing 1,000 to 2,000.
TPC 2349, New York, radar contact, climb maintain 8,000.
This guy's working pretty hard today, though.
8,000, 2229.
It pays off to be online on a Saturday.
November 34 Papa Golf, you can turn right heading 170 now.
Alright, right, 70, 34 Papa Golf.
For American 2844, you do have the crossing restriction for Lundy, is that correct?
Yeah, we do, and we're literally starting down right now, American 2844.
Wonderful, thank you, sir. Start 222 after LaGuardia, continue heading 130, back to the final.
The LaGuardia 130.
FBA minus 2.5.
Change that American 243 every year, November, Charlie, short off, ready to taxi.
American 243 heavy, runway 22 right, question runway 13 right, taxi via Bravo, November and Papa.
Get manual speed now, speed 250.
13 right, Bravo, November, Papa, and you can take Papa Charlie for departure at 243 heavy.
Sounds good.
Well, it's a little cloudy right now, but we should break out, see the city before too long.
Now it's 2404, standby. TPC 2349, turn left heading 360.
360, 2349.
Delta 24 Papa Golf Heavy, descend and maintain 8,000. The Kennedy altimeter is 3040.
I get it. It's easy to sometimes forget what you've told people. If you've told people, you might have forgotten to give them the restrictions. So I get it. I get why he gets nervous. We're not starting down in time, but see he's having too much problem here. We're already halfway there. There's still 15 miles to go. Might need just a little bit of speed break to help slow down.
American 1810 request.
Just trying to judge how fast, how much time is going to decelerate there.
Erie Center, Unit 90 with you, 8,600, climbing 107, heading 080, sir.
Kevin,
okay.
Prepare for 1,000
to go.
United 90 Heavy, welcome back. Proceed direct merit, climb maintain 17,000.
17,000 direct merit, United 90, thanks.
I think we'll be okay.
United
Level off here.
2404, climb maintain level 240.
We only got it. There's All-Star already. We only got 30 knots to lose. I think we'll be fine, even with the speed break now. 8 miles to go. Yeah, it should be fine. We'll be very close to 250 knots if we don't make it exactly.
Slowing down. 222, contact New York approach 128.12.
New York approach 128.12 for Delta 222. Thanks, sir.
American 2844, after LaGuardia, fly heading 130, and you can call New York approach 128.12 also.
Sorry, say again the heading for American 2844?
American 2844, it's after LaGuardia, heading 130.
After LaGuardia, heading 130, and New York on 2812, American 2844, thanks, see ya.
Delta 34 Papa Golf, contact New York approach 128.12.
New York approach, very good day, Delta 222, 14,500 for 13,000.
Delta 222, New York approach, good evening, turn right heading 180, descend and maintain 8,000.
Right, 180, descend maintain 8,000, and we do have Sierra.
New York approach, Delta 34 Papa Golf.
Delta 34 Papa Golf, New York approach, good evening, turn left heading 090, descend and maintain 4,000.
090, but we're descending to 8,000 right now.
The 349 Papa Golf, it's the amended altitude 14,000 now.
Alright, 14,000, thank you.
New York approach, hello, American 2844, flight level 190, and we're heading 130 up to LaGuardia VOR.
American 2844, New York approach, good evening, descend and maintain 13,000, Kennedy altimeter 3040, expect the RNAV runway 13 left to Kennedy.
Alright, descend 13,000 on 3044, and we're playing the RNAV Zulu 13 left, American 2844.
Delta 222, turn right heading 220, descend and maintain 4,000.
Right, 220, descend 4,000.
13,000 feet, open descent.
New York approach, verify heading 090, 34 Papa Golf.
34 Papa Golf, perimeter 090.
And I just wanted to get the ATIS again because apparently Romeo is out of date.
Descend 10,000, 34 Papa Golf.
Alright.
New York, good day, this is FlyZoom 002, just push back from Sun 39, look for taxi system.
3040.
That was the call sign FlyZoom.
Hey firm, FlyZoom 002.
FlyZoom 002 heavy, runway 13 right, taxi via Alpha Quebec Papa Foxtrot.
48, 14.
Alpha Quebec Papa Foxtrot for 13 right, FlyZoom 00.
Pretty straightforward still. Alright, now we're establishing the descent, 1.7. What's the temperature? Just want to get the anti-icing on. And now we're going to need some speed brake to counteract the anti-ice. The anti-ice pushes up the idle. Heading 130. Alright, so heading, and there's open descent. see something out there. Must be near New York. My simulators, I think it's getting slower. It's definitely looking a little choppier now.
Near departure, American 243 Heavy, you're approaching Papa Charlie, ready to go.
American 243
Noticeably
Heavy,
choppier.
Kenny Tower, good evening. Fly heading 130, wind 140 at H, runway 13 right, clear takeoff.
130 on the heading, clear for takeoff, 13 left, American 243 Heavy.
New York departure, November 264 Tango Golf Type Epic 1000.
I just can't believe he's still here.
Sussex. IFR flight plan is filed and corrected by New York Center. We're requesting taxi.
Number 246 Tango Golf, I'm sorry, what airport are you at?
We're at KFWN, Sussex Airport.
Number 264 Tango Golf, that airport is uncontrolled. Did you get released by center?
Yeah, I got released by center. I'll contact you on departure. Thank you, sir.
Number 34 Papa Golf, turn left heading 360, descend to maintain 4000.
360, 4000, 64 Papa Golf.
Delta 222, turn right heading 310.
Right 310, Delta 222.
Delta 20, correction, American 2844, turn right heading 170, descend to maintain 8000.
Right turn 170 down to 8,000, American 2844.
Confirm 4000, 24 Papa Golf.
Delta 34 Papa Golf, heavy affirmative, descend to maintain 4000, 360 on the heading.
4000 and heading 0.
Alright, so we're setting up pretty much for a right downwind here.
American 2844, continue the right turn right heading 220.
Heading 220, American 2844.
American 243 Heavy, start 14,005 knots.
American 243 Heavy, we're going to contact, come and maintain 7,000.
7,243 Heavy.
220 heading. And there's JFK down there. Just got to get around to it.
New York departure, 264 Tango Golf. We do not have a transponder code.
Number 264 Tango Golf, Roger, squawk 1055.
Approach checklist.
Briefing.
Squawking 1055
Complete.
and
Confirmed.
ECAM status.
Delta 222, proceed direct, assault.
Direct assault, 222.
American 243, proceed direct, wavy.
On.
Direct wavy, 243 Heavy.
3040 set.
3040 set, minimum.
1260 feet set.
Turn left heading 330.
0 set, engine
Left
selected.
330,
Normal.
24 Papa Golf.
Approach checklist complete.
Number 264
Check.
Tango Golf, for the contact, proceed direct, breezy, come and maintain 1000.
direct breezy, 1000 for 264 Tango Golf.
Sorry, did you want us at 3,000 at assault, 222?
That's a 222, just gonna maintain 3,000 for now.
Alright, now we're at positive temperatures.
Breaking 243, climb and maintain 2000.
1000 to go.
That's probably you over there, Squibbly. I think I see you.
American 243 Heavy, climb maintain 2000. Got the 222, 10 miles from Assault, cross south after about 3000, cleared RNAV Zulu, runway 13 left.
Assault at or above 3,000, cleared RNAV Zulu, runway 13 left for Delta 222.
FedEx 3003, near departure, do you receive voice?
I see you down there. Yeah, good luck. Blazing the trail for me as always. Such complicated airspace though, with so many vectors. It's nice to have ATC. I was hopeful, but I was not always like optimistic that was going to work.
2844, turn right heading 270, descend to maintain 4000.
Right turn 270 down to 4000, American 2844.
American 243, climb and maintain 12000.
12000, 243.
Alright, open descent, heading is 270.
Your bridge, move it up, check 9758, 21, and 18 out 75.
We'll be doing this in a 737 soon enough. I still got the dome lights on. It's fine. I turned them on because it was so dark and dreary in DFW when we left.
That's JetBlue 97 clearance.
Hey, oh well.
JetBlue 97, cleared to the Denver airport, score for departure. Correction, Kennedy 5 departure. The direct is Robbinsville, then as filed. Maintain 5000, expect the level 340, 1 after departure. Departure frequency 135.9.
A little bit so we can turn us inbound a little bit sooner. Now we're running a little bit behind schedule here by the looks of it. Arrival in 9 minutes, which is going to be tight.
1071.
American 2844, turn right direct assault.
Right direct assault, American 2844. Alright, right direct assault.
American 243, heavy contact near depart, correction, New York Center, 125.32.
2532.
Alright, 2000.
JetBlue 97, reach back correct.
Yeah, we got,
New York approach, Super Concord 001 Heavy, level 9000, looking to do the Parkway visual, runway 13 right.
Super Concord 1, New York approach, we expect the RNAV, runway 13 right, correction, runway 13 left approach.
Unable, we are ill-equipped for RNAV approaches.
Oh, sorry, my correction, Super Concord 1, expect the Parkway visual, runway 13 right.
Expect Parkway visual, we'll see right, thank you.
Thank you.
American 2844, 5 miles from assault, cross assault after about 3000, cleared RNAV, Zulu, runway 13 left approach.
Assault data above 3000 and clear the RNAV Zulu runway 13 left, American 2844.
Delta 34 Papa Golf, going to maintain 2000.
Still see you out there, Squibbly.
280.
There's a little tiny dot in the distance, but you're there.
3000, 280, expect 22 left localized, there's Super Papa Golf.
So we have to cross assault data above 3000, we go down to 2000. And then from Canarsie we start a steady 3-degree slope down. Canarsie, cross Canarsie 2000, and at Canarsie we do it 2,000 feet. And then one of the tricks is that
22, Kennedy wind 140 at 8.
Start dialing the FBA in 0.3 miles before you're supposed to start down, because there's a bit of time to kind of get over the top and start turning down. So that was the rule of thumb that we always did to use at our company, is we try to always have
heavy, flying 130, wind 140 at 8.
We try to always start the descent about 0.3 miles before we actually want to, and that way it gets kind of rounded out a little bit, and it's more likely to, you're going to get directly on the path you need to go.
New York approach, Super
so
Concord 1,
FBA, start about 0.3 miles early.
Intercept and track the 223 radar towards Canarsie to set up for the Parkway visual.
Super Concord 1, fly heading 360 from now, going to maintain 4000.
360, descend 4000, Super Concord 1.
Alright, so we got alt, so I'm going to go ahead and set 2000 for the next altitude. And I'll start bringing the speed back to 210 because we're going to start configuring here. Doing my best to kind of keep the speed up a little bit so for the guys behind me, especially in the Concorde, but at the end of the day, I got to make sure I slow down for my own arrival. Because if I do a go around, everyone's going to get mad. Passengers, crew, ATC, everybody, so.
Delta 34 Papa Golf, 1 able to proceed direct Rosley.
1 able, can you say again?
Good luck, Squibbly. Going around the corner there.
1 able to proceed direct Rosley.
You can let the FMS fly it, and it should do a pretty good job, but I'm going to try and hand fly it once we get sort of past, once we get to that point where we're turning.
American 2044, your number 2, calling Airbus A320 on a 1 mile final, wind 140 at 8, runway 13 left, clear to land.
Sorry, was that for American 2844, clear to land 13 left?
American 2044, affirmative, clear to land 13 left.
Thank you, clear to land 13 left, American 2844.
Flaps 1. 34 Papa Golf, turn left heading 180.
180, 34 Papa. I'm sorry, I don't have Rodney on my FM now.
34 Papa Golf, program in the ILS runway 22 left approach.
Yeah, I think you can do that, yeah.
Uniform Kilo Zulu 002, high rate of contact, turn left heading 060, climb and maintain 1,000.
2,500.
060,
Flaps 2.
Fly Zoom 002 heavy.
Check speed.
Flaps 2.
Speed checked.
Gear down.
Flaps 2.
Delta 34 Papa Golf, do you have the Kennedy upward in sight?
Not yet, but we should pretty soon.
Flaps 3.
Speed checked. Gear down.
34 Papa Golf, descend to maintain 2,000.
Flaps 3.
2,000, yeah, 34 Papa.
Flaps full.
Speed checked. Flaps full.
34 Papa Golf has 0 in sight.
Delta 34 Papa Golf, third visual, runway 22 left approach.
Third visual, 22 left, 34 Papa Golf.
100 above.
Evo Concord 1, intercept the Canarsie 223 radio.
B-3.
We'll intercept the Canarsie 223 radio, Speedbird Concord 1.
Landing.
Checked.
Why are we going down already?
Beautiful.
Feet already, I'm not paying attention.
Direct American, maintain 17,000.
Chancellor at the south ramp at Teterboro, request IVAR clearance to Boston.
Number 5, Alpha Mike, near departure, standby Central.
Why did I go down to 1200? I didn't notice that I was going down.
Uniform Kilo 002 heavy, proceed direct.
I must have somehow
maintain
gauged the descent.
17,000.
Direct Merit 17,000, Fly Zoom
100
002
above.
heavy.
Delta 34 Papa Golf, reduce to final approach speed.
Sync rate.
We're reducing up, my bad.
Minimum.
Landing.
Delta 222 is clear on Delta.
1,000.
Delta 222, thank you, taxi left out of the ramp.
I did not notice we were going down. I was too oblivious trying to dial in switches and everything.
Delta 34 Papa Golf, traffic center, bus 320, landing approaching runway prior to arrival, wind 140 at 8, runway 22 left, clear to land.
Land 22 left, 34 Papa Golf.
Number 2614 Golf, Boston Center is offline, leave my airspace.
The first minute was called. Took me a second to kind of wake up, and that's how CFIT happens.
264 Tango Golf, thank you so much.
Dialing in the controls.
Viva Concord 1, looks like you're intercepting the outbound radio, intercepting 223 inbound radio.
Roger, we'll make a left-hand procedure turn to intercept.
500.
Fly Zoom 002 heavy, you are leaving my airspace to the north, Boston is offline, register to terminate,
Close to bye-bye. Coordinate the jury.
Just change your period, Fly Zoom 002, many thanks, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
300. 200.
Number 5 Alpha Mike, I have a clearance advisor to copy.
Ready to copy to 1 final Mike.
Row 5 Alpha Mike, clear to the Boston Logan Airport, the Teterboro 4 departure, redirect is breezy, then is fouled, maintain 2000, expect 5000 once you was after departure.
100.
Departure frequency with me, squawk 1037, read back squawk it only.
50. 40. 30.
Row 5 Alpha Mike, squawk 1037.
20. Retard. 10. 5.
Clear to flight, squawk 1037,
Row 5 Alpha Mike, read back correct. Expect,
Made it there, not for...
call me ready taxi, expect only 1.
70 knots.
Delta 34 Papa Golf SAC is RNAV.
Delta 34 Papa Golf Heavy, cross runway 22 right, taxi after the ramp.
Cross 22 right after the ramp, thank you.
American 2844, welcome to Kennedy, vacate right when able, taxi Alpha to the ramp.
Alright, Alpha around to the ramp, Delta 2844, thanks. Alright, Alpha to the ramp. Ooh, I don't know how, I must have somehow switched it into like an open descent mode. I thought it was level at 2,000 feet, and then we were sinking and I didn't even realize it. Too busy trying to
5 Alpha Mike.
Focus on doing like 15 things at once. You did better, I did better than you.
5 Alpha Mike, runway 24, taxi, get Quebec.
Oh, I'm not proud of that one. After landing checklist.
Flaps.
Zero Concord 1, let's do this. Fly heading 360 for now.
Delta 360, Speedbird Concord 1.
Yeah, that was
Zero
stressful.
Concord 1, report either Floyd Bennett Field in sight or the Parkway.
Retracted.
Report Field or Parkway in sight, Speedbird Concord 1.
Disarmed.
APU.
Start.
Radar.
Off.
Predictive wind shear system.
Off.
After landing checklist complete.
Check. Hoy, yeah. Still alive, it counts. Yeah. The interesting thing about streaming this is you can go back and you can see where you went wrong too. That's the fun part. Great for accident analysis. I can go back and I can see exactly where I went wrong. So I must have somehow accidentally, because I didn't mean to.
1 heavy descent, maintain 3,000.
I must have somehow engaged. I bet I engaged open descent somehow when I set to 1,200 feet. So I set 1,200 feet kind of as my MDA so that the FPA would go below 2,000. So I set 1,200 as my MDA, knowing that I would probably just be easy autopilot by that point and hand fly from there. But it must have started down right away because I was still about 3 or 4 miles back from Canarsie when I said that. So it must have started down, and I didn't notice it because I was too busy looking at the distance, dialing in my speed, getting my performance numbers, everything. That I did not realize when when it started going down. And it wasn't until it called minimums. The first time it called minimums, I was like, what? I heard it, but it sort of went in one ear and out the other. Like I heard it, but I guess I didn't believe it because it didn't seem logical. I was like, minimums, and it took me a couple. And it was that time.
It seems like it tried to go the opposite way, so we're just gonna do the heading.
It was very
right heading 04.
Yeah, it just like I was so distracted and kind of task saturated as a single pilot trying to fly all this that I was not able to keep up with it at that point.
040 and we'll level 3,000.
But I managed to get myself back in the game, and that's why you have a second pilot, so that if something's going wrong, like they're watching other things as well. Hopefully, they would have caught it and said, "Hey, why are you descending?" And I would have looked up and said, "What are we doing here?" But because I was sort of single pilot. We're all single pilot in the sim. There's nobody monitoring. There's nobody checking to see what's going on. So, yeah, that was a little scary, to be honest. I mean, obviously it's a sim, and nothing's, the worst thing that happens is we crash on stream and everyone laughs at it. But that's how things happen very quickly, how things unravel very quickly. You certainly hope that the person next to you is doing their best as well, because very often when you're flying,
322 on the block. Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
There's too much going on all at one time for you to be able to deal with it all. And that's why that's why there's 2 crew members, and I think for a long time there's going to be 2 crew members. I find it hard to believe that we're going to be able to eliminate 1 pilot anytime soon, knowing the workload that goes on a lot of times in an airplane. Eliminating that 2nd pilot is just a recipe for disaster on so many levels. But anyways, we did make it, and like you said, Travis, still alive. Don't do what I did. Learn from my mistakes. Definitely New York's a very complicated area with a big hit on the frame rate as I try to look around here. Let's get that APU up and running.
Speedbird Concorde 1 heavy, Kennedy wind 140 at 8, runway 13 right, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 13 right, Speedbird Concorde 1.
Alright, so we gotta go around the back side of Terminal 8 here. So right about where the American is right now, up ahead there is where we're gonna turn in. This guy's definitely working hard on ATC. We got VATSIM ATC, we got an arrival with VATSIM ATC, woo! It happens. It happens sometimes and you don't expect it. I thought he was gonna be logged off for sure. By the time we got here, I thought for sure he was gonna be logged off. A little slower, where's that Speedbird? He's just rounding the corner onto final here. I almost want to kind of watch him land. There he is. He's just going to round the corner on 13 left here shortly. Yeah. And it's kind of fun to sightsee and watch other people try and pull this off as well. It's just so easy to get tunnel vision, especially in the sim, because you don't have peripheral vision outside of what you see. So if your head's down like this, you literally have no idea what's going on outside. Not even peripheral vision will tell you what's going on outside if you do that. Hopefully Gate 5 has got a jet bridge here. I see a jet bridge down there. Alright, let's go ahead and say taxi light off. APU appears to be on. So 135 is supposed to be the 3rd, and then I think is there Gate 7 as well in here, or is it just Gate 5 is the last one? Let's just have a quick little look-see here. Can I load? There is kind of 7s on the terminal itself, so that's Gate 1, 3, that's 5. Alright, but we did make it. We didn't kill anybody. Didn't kill ourselves. Not sure if that's 5 or this is 5 and there's no numbers, so we're just going to go with it. We're going to go with the last one here.
We're going to have to take 13 left. That's the best we can do.
You're Concorde 1, runway 13 left, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 13 left.
He is struggling. It's not an easy airplane. It is not an easy airplane to fly. And curving visual approaches in New York. Definitely would not want to be doing that when I'm learning that airplane, that's for sure. I thought I turned the taxi lights off. Oh, turn on. Alright, let's try and line it up nicely here. That's good enough for me. Since there's no marshaller and there's no line, that's what we're going to do. Alright. Parking checklist. Parking checklist.
APU bleed.
Number 5, Alpha Mike, Teterboro, wind 140 at 6, runway 24 clear today.
Off.
Seatbelts.
Off.
Exterior lights.
Nav logo. Nav logo on.
Fuel pumps.
Off.
Parking brake and shocks.
On and in.
Parking checklist complete.
Alright, we're here, and what I love about this is just when I have self-loaded cargo and FS2 crew running, bridge gets called on automatically, door opens automatically, nobody waits for my okay, nobody waits for me to press a button, they're just gone, they're just going. I love that. I just, because so much of stuff that happens that you have to trigger manually in the sim, in the real world it just happens, so you don't have to trigger it. But anyways, we made it, we didn't kill ourselves, we didn't kill anybody else, we lived to fly another day. Welcome to New York John F. Kennedy. Somewhere off in the distance over there is downtown. Where am I looking here? Somewhere. Oh yeah, you can just make it out very faint there in the distance.
American 3459. I'm checking out the Kaufman again.
We are passing 3,300 American 3459.
Where did Speedbird go? Did you land? I see a tap over there by the looks of it. That's where he's going.
American 3059, your stay location?
Did he go off the end and just disconnect?
We are just taking off from Philadelphia, American.
I shouldn't laugh. I mean, well, we had our own disaster as well. So, yeah, that's it. So we got another leg successfully completed. Our next one is a long one, JFK to LAX. That's going to be a long flight. It's going to be a long stream. I'm definitely going to take a break middle of that stream. I'm not going to be able to keep that one up for sure. I'm definitely going to need a mid-stream break on that one. Even this one, just pushing my limit a little bit here. 3 to 4 hours. I mean, it's been almost 4 hours now that the stream's been going. It was fun. It was good fun. I think we talked a lot of fun stuff. I had fun. Yeah, I look forward to doing it again with you guys. I really do. This pilot flight career is turning out to be lots of fun, and as Quigley said, who knows? Any one of these could be the last time I fly this fly-by-wire aircraft. You don't know for sure. But that 737 is going to drop any day now, and I'm going to be all over it as well. I really will. I'm looking forward to it big time. And we get as many people on stream. I'm definitely going to fail some things halfway through the flight just to kind of add some challenge, add some realism. Things break all the time in airplanes. I'm definitely going to do that as well. I'm going to fail some things in midstream just to see what happens and how we deal with it. I can pull out my trusty 737QRH and we can deal with it. So, but for now, I think that's it for me for today. That's been a long time streaming. I hope you guys had fun. I know I had fun. This guy looks like he's doing the same approach I did. I'm gonna watch this guy here. Nope, no, that's the right button. Let's see if we can get over there in time. Oh, darn you, you slow drone. Can't do a sync rate go in there on final. So I'm sitting there just watching. Just touristing. Got a little bit of a bank going on there. It's like JetBlue. Yeah. Oh, a little bit of a bank going on there, but otherwise looks like you pulled it off pretty nicely. Who doesn't love watching airplanes on VATSIM? Sometimes it's hilarious because sometimes it doesn't work the way it's supposed to, but we want to bounce, we want to bounce. But anyways, thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I had lots of fun. I hope you did too. I hope you learned something. Stay tuned to the Discord. I'm not sure when that next flight's going to be. It's going to have to probably be during the week sometime this week. But yeah, we'll stick with it, and I'll try to have an ATC stream sometime this week as well. It's been a while. I kind of miss doing it. It's just been so busy, but I will do one soon. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe and healthy out there, and we'll see you guys all real soon.